Thank you for tuning in to Exeter TV. The meeting will be starting shortly. While we wait, let's learn more about Exeter TV. Exeter TV is the town's public and government access channels, available on Comcast channels 98 and 22. Channel 98 is your channel. If you have an idea for a program, want to host your own talk show, or submit a film, we're here to get your content on television. On Channel 22, we bring you live and replay coverage of government meetings and other town updates. A third channel, Blue Hawk Media, is operated by Seiu 16 and can be found on Channel 13, with all your school sports, events, and meetings. You can watch Exeter TV online at exeternh.tv, Apple TV, and on Roku. Find us on social media for extra content. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell to get notified about live streams and new content. Tune in to our platforms every other Friday to watch the Exeter Biweekly Report, with recaps of recent events, updates from town departments, and messages from nonprofits in your area. If you head to our website, exeternh.tv, we invite you to sign up to our newsletter to receive monthly updates about new content, upcoming meetings, and more. We'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch Exeter TV and hope that you tune in to our other content as well.
Start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for coming out on this cold day in the middle of COVID after a big storm. We're going to be trying to keep things as safe as possible. The pandemic is still very much with us. Folks are in the auditorium wearing masks. We also have locations for voters who are not masked in the small gym with an entrance through door B5. We also have an outdoor option. We now have a radio station, FM 88.3. People can listen to the meeting on a low-power FM transmitter radio in their car and participate if they have comments or motions or amendments by going to an outdoor microphone. So there are moderators in the small gym for unmasked voters, moderator outdoors for folks who want to be outdoors, masked or unmasked, and also I'm the moderator here in this room. Everyone should have checked in with the supervisors of the checklist to get a voter card. If you haven't done so, please go check in. Folks who are outside also need to check in to get their voter cards, and so do the folks in the small gym. Only the voters who are registered in the Town of Exeter are allowed to participate in the meeting. I'm going to ask folks who want to speak to come to the microphone that is over here. Line up, going up the ramp. Try to keep spaced out with social distancing. Bring your card with you. And when you leave the auditorium at the end, please take your voter cards with you. Exeter is an SB2 or official ballot town, meaning we have one session in which we debate and amend, if permitted by law, the articles on the warrant. Copies of the warrant and explanations of the articles are in the center of the auditorium. They're also with the supervisors of the checklist and at door B5 for unmasked voters coming in that way. I will ask folks to limit their presentation so that we can all get through this quickly and safely. Some of the articles cannot be amended. Articles 1, 2, and 6 I will not read, we won't discuss because those are not ones that we can change. When I open up the floor to questions, I'll ask people to limit their questions or amendments to 3 minutes. And I'm going to recognize folks who have not spoken yet before we have people who have already spoken. If there is a motion to call the question, which means vote on the pending matter, that requires a second and then a 2/3 vote. So we'll vote first on the motion to call the question, and then secondly on the underlying matter. When you come up to speak, please give your name, and if your name is not easy to understand, please spell it so our clerk can capture that, and also the street on which you live. If you've spoken before, please do that each time you come up to the mic. It's important that people only speak when they are at the mic. The only motions that can be made from the floor are to call the question and for points of order. I'm asking that all the amendments to articles be in writing so that we're sure that we capture them. If folks need to write down an amendment, we have some pens and paper over by the mic here in the auditorium, and those should be handed to our clerk. I'm going to introduce some of the folks here up on the stage with me. We have our town clerk, Andy Kohler. We have our finance director. Thank you very much. We have our attorney, Walter Mitchell. We have our town manager, Russell Dean, chair of our Board of Selectmen, Nico Constantis. And next is, Julie Gilman, Select Board, Molly Cowan, Select Board, and Levy Olaf Roundtree, Select Board. We have a number of folks who will be very helpful in discussing the articles who are town officials, but are not residents of the town of Exeter. Because they're not residents, they're not allowed to speak without the permission of the meeting. So I'm going to ask that as a slate, the voters here approve these folks to be able to speak and address the meeting. After I give the list, I'm going to ask folks to vote. They are Chief of Police Stephen Poulin, Public Works Director Jennifer Perry, Director of Parks and Rec Greg Bison, Town Planner David Sharples, Water Sewer Manager Matt Berube, Natural Resources Planner Kristen Murphy, and possibly the Town Attorney Walter Mitchell. So all in favor of allowing those folks to speak, please raise your cards and say aye. Aye. Okay, all opposed, please raise your cards and say nay. The ayes have it. Congratulations. All right. When we are done with our discussions today and possibly amending any of the articles that can be amended, there will be the second session of town meeting, which is the balloting portion. That will be Tuesday, March 8, 2022. Our balloting place is at the Talbot Gym in Exeter. We hope everybody turns out to vote. The first article has to do with choosing elected officials. That's not something we can amend or discuss, so I'm going to skip right over it. The next article is Article 2, a zoning petition article. Zoning articles may not be amended by the meeting, but the meeting may discuss them. I'd like to get through the matters that involve voting first before we turn to that article. So I'm going to move Article 2 on the zoning ordinance amendment to the end of the agenda. We'll discuss that when we're done with the other matters. Article 3 is the Webster Avenue Pump Station Design and Construction. And that article reads, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $5,700,000 for the purpose of design and construction of a new sewer pump station and force main on Webster Ave, and to authorize the issuance of not more than $5,700,000 of bonds or notes in accordance with the provisions of the Municipal Finance Act, RSA 33, and further to authorize the Select Board to issue and negotiate such bonds or notes and to determine the rate of interest thereon, and further to authorize the Select Board to apply for, obtain, and accept federal, state, and other aid, if any, including principal forgiveness, which may become available for this project. The town will receive funding through a $1.05 million grant, $1.395 million in state ARPA funds, and $325,500 in principal forgiveness from the New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services. Bond payments would begin approximately 1 year after issuance. Debt service will be paid from the sewer fund. A 3/5 ballot vote is required for approval, and this is recommended by the Select Board. All right, starting off, I recognize Public Works Director Jennifer Perry to present this article. Thank you, Jennifer.
Good morning. I think the article is fairly self-descriptive, and the description is accurate. This ultimately the funding for this that would fall with the Town of Exeter would amount to $2.9 million. So because of the timing of this project, we've been very fortunate to receive funding from the state through the ARPA funds and through congressional directed spending, which isn't guaranteed at this point, but we do feel that we stand in very good stead. So there's a lot of state and federal funding that's available. The Webster pump station is a critical piece of our sewer collection system. This basically pumps all of the sewer from the Portsmouth Ave east side of town across the river to the main pumping station adjacent to Seiu Parkway. It's an older pump station. It was built in the early 1970s, and it is undersized, and as you realize, that's a very highly developed sewer shed with the hospital and all of Portsmouth Ave contributing to it, so it's important that we replace this at this time.
Thank you very much. I don't see anyone standing up in line to speak at the mic, so seeing no one, that article will appear as printed on the ballot. Thank you. The next article is Article 4, the 10 Hampton Road purchase. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $1,250,000 for the purchase of land and buildings at 10 Hampton Road, AKA the Quessential Building, including making minor renovations to the property to be used by the Parks and Recreations Department as recreation space, public parking, and main offices, and to authorize the issuance of not more than $1,250,000 of bonds or notes in accordance with the provisions of the Municipal Finance Act, RSA 33, and further to authorize the Select Board to issue and negotiate such bonds or notes and to determine the rate of interest thereon, and further to authorize the Select Board to apply for, obtain, and accept federal, state, and other aid, if any, including principal forgiveness, which may become available for the project. Debt service will be paid from the general fund. Estimated tax impact, assuming 10-year bond at 0.86% interest, is 6 cents per thousand or $6 per 100,000 of assessed property value. Bond payments would begin approximately 1 year after issuance. A 3/5 ballot vote is required for approval, and this is recommended by the Select Board 4-0. And I will recognize Director Bisson to do a presentation from the Parks and Rec Department.
Okay, I had a presentation. Bob available? Well, I can just, hold on one second.
I think that may have been delivered, is that correct?
Yeah, that was delivered yesterday.
Okay. So our tech folks...
We'll need our technology person to come down and load that up if he's available.
Cool, sure. Oh, here he comes.
I don't, with me. Because you were the only one who...
Yeah.
I was the only one that Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Excellent.
I did. I said I...
Thank you, Greg Bisson, Exeter Parks and Rec. Location is key. 10 Hampton Road is located approximately south of the 4 Hampton Road property. As you can see, highlighted in the green box between Churchill's Garden Center and the Exeter Retirement Center. The property is approximately 1.64 acres, has 2 buildings on it. Currently has an office building that's 4,578 square feet. That includes 12 small offices, 2 large multi-purpose spaces, 1 small staff kitchen, 4 bathrooms, a welcome lobby, a copy room, an outdoor deck, and additional storage space throughout. Also on the property is a detached garage that's 585 square feet that includes office space, a single bay garage, and storage. Why this property is so important? The property abuts the recreation park, allowing a second access point to the upper fields, improving accessibility for all patrons and participants. Increases available parking for the recreational park users. As you all know, we have problems with parking. 10 Hampton Road currently has 45 parking spaces. Additional parking spaces could be created in the future. Currently, the current buildings on the property could house the recreational staff and program with minimal renovations. The existing building has more programmable space. 10 Hampton Road has a capacity to have 3 ADA accessible programming spaces, while 32 Court Street only has 1 accessible space on the first floor. Summer camp access. As you all know, we've ducked into the recreational, the rec park's bathroom during inclement weather. This would give access to another facility so the kids could hop in a quick storm. The property is large enough also for future expansion for a multi-generational community center down the line. It improves access, response time for the recreational staff to the pool and the programming space. And it allows us to move in and evaluate long-term recreational needs of the community with a more fiscally appropriate timeline that does not compete with other town projects. An analysis was conducted. That's where we came up with the 45 parking spaces. As you can see, the additional 30 other parking spaces could be expanded in the red box. This is the current floor layout with the proposed renovating of the 2 multi-purpose spaces, as you can see where the red arrows indicate. Those are currently 4 offices right now. What needs to be done with the $100,000? We're going to create an ADA access and egress of the building. We're going to renovate the first floor bathroom to meet ADA requirements. We're going to reconfigure the 4 offices to make 2 programming spaces. We're going to connect the town network to our fiber will run up there, and then system maintenance contingency. Potential future is creating ADA access to the second floor, renovating the second floor bathrooms, expanding parking, increase energy efficiency in the building, and in 5 to 8 years, consider building an expansion for additional programming space. Here's the budget breakdown currently. As you can see, the purchase price is $1.15 million, the $100,000 renovations, with fiber being $45,000, the ADA compliance being $43,000, and then system maintenance contingency for $12,000, making a total of $1.25 million. How this will impact? Tax impact will be 0.061 cents per thousand, approximately $18.36 for the first year, and $17.70 average for the 10-year bond for a home value of $300,000. Additional renovations may be requested at a later date, but the town will look for alternative funding to complete those renovations. How it impacts the request that Parks and Rec has had. Parks and Rec currently has a number of projects in the CIP. These would eliminate or modify them. The elimination would be the $4.5 million for parking and athletic field expansion, as well as the $75,000 for the ADA accessibility assessment of the 32 Court Street. Modifications would be reducing the $6.5 million request for the multi-generational community center down to $2 to $3 million for a possible expansion down there at Hampton Road. This would include 6 to 8 years out and would be a possible expansion, department storage, and a possible bathroom access from the outdoors. The acquisition of 10 Hampton Road is fully supported by both the Facilities Advisory Committee and the Budget Recommendation Committee to move it forward to the Select Board to make the decision to put it on the ballot this year. Frequently asked questions. What will happen to Court Street? The Select Board will decide what happens to Court Street property if this were to pass. When would we be moving? The 10 Hampton Road current tenant would be moving out as of July 1st, if not sooner. Will we be able to utilize the parking, which we already started this fall to utilize it? Yes, we'll have access to the parking as well. Will we be able to use the summer camp site this year? With us taking occupation of it on July 1st, it is highly doubtful we'll be able to use it this year, but moving forward, we'll have access to that property. How will this affect us? This will create a second access point, as mentioned before. It also will allow emergency personnel easier access to the park as well as handicap. In addition, the decision was made to close the Wayside Drive access gate to the general public and only allow it for maintenance, so this will give an option for those down the end. Will there be handicap parking to access the upper fields? Absolutely. We'll have designated spots. Will Meals on Wheels move with us? At this time, they will remain at the senior center until the Select Board makes the decision on the Court Street properties. Our goal is for the town to support the purchase of 10 Hampton Road with a $100,000 budget to complete minimal renovations to move the Parks and Recreational staff to the building. Parks and Recreation will then work with the community, Facilities Advisory Committee, Budget Recommendations Committees, abutters, and the Select Board to conduct a Parks and Recreation operational analysis, which will be used to determine the appropriate next steps for the property and the Parks and Recreation Department. We will propose small incremental improvements to the property and building over the next 5 years. When the town is ready, the department will use the recreation operational analysis to propose a moderate expansion to the building and property that is fiscally responsible and fits into the long-term planning of the town. The purchase of this property will allow the town flexibility in the timing of these improvements. The Parks and Recreation can operate out of 10 Hampton Road property for many years to come while the town determines with the time for future recreational improvements. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I see there's some folks here waiting in line to ask questions. Could the first person approach the microphone please tell us your name and the street on which you live?
Darius Thompson, 15 Drakewater Road, Exeter, New Hampshire.
Thank you.
While this is a great opportunity to purchase this property, some of the questions that I have are, as in the presentation, it looks like there are additional requests for funding that will come up as a result of the purchase of this property over the several years. While it's nice to see that it will reduce the CIP plan portions of, what was $6 million down to $2 million, that's wonderful. But my concern is that in purchasing this property, have you looked at and evaluated all of the potential unforeseen things that may pop up? As an example, has the building been inspected to see if there's any asbestos or anything that's there that may require additional abatements and other issues that need to happen to get that to occupy that building as you make ADA renovations. The cost for maintenance of the building when you expand the parking space, has that been factored into it? Or are you going to use your budget to actually offset that cost, or are you going to come to the taxpayers to ask for that as part of the renovations for the property or use of the property? So those are my concerns. The town will vote the way the town will vote. I think it's a great opportunity to purchase the property. I'm just questioning, have we done all the due diligence to make certain that what we're asking the voters to do, to pay for, and that you're not going to be coming back to us again in another year or 2 years or 3 years for another $5 million, $2 million, $3 million, whatever dollars to ask to things you didn't think of the first time. That's all.
Thank you. Is there someone who can respond to his questions? Excuse me, could you wait for a response? Thank you.
Yes, we've had the building actually inspected, and we know all the details. We and Public Works will work together to figure out the steps forward. And then no site evaluation has really been done for what it will cost to upgrade the parking, but that is something that we are willing to work with the townsfolk. So.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I'd like to hear from the next person. Thank you.
Thank you. Jerry Hamill, 17 Little Pine. I'm in favor of the project. I just have a general question. This is not only for this project, but any other bond project that we do have. We have here assumption of an 8.6 bond rate, which is it's a great rate. How close is that assumption? Number one, and number two, is that fixed rate for the duration of this project, or does that become a variable rate? Because we know the interest is going up. So will that stay as a fixed rate or a variable?
Is there someone who can respond to that question? Yeah, town manager.
So to answer the question, when we develop our bond interest assumptions, we use the latest available information from the New Hampshire Municipal Bond Bank. And so it's a fixed rate, not a variable rate. And we based our estimates, like I say, off the latest issue, the latest bond sale from the New Hampshire Municipal Bond Bank. So that's where those assumptions come from.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none. Oh, is this a speaker? Thank you.
Good morning. Don Clement, Thelma Drive. I think this is a great opportunity for the rec department in the town, and I fully support it. I just want to make sure that moving forward, as I think Mr. Thompson said, we need to really determine what the future costs are going to be and what the other improvements are. And also, I want to ask the board, this board and the future board, to consider the disposition of the Court Street property. I never want to get to the point where the town has so much property because having a lot of property incurs a lot of cost that the taxpayers have to pick up. But other than that, I think this is a great project. I think it's a great opportunity, and I hope the town votes to approve it and move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other folks coming up to ask questions, that article will appear on the ballot as written. The next article is Article 5, West Side Drive, Reconstruction Design / Engineering, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $330,715 for the purposes of design and engineering of water and sewer and drainage improvements to the West Side Drive area, and to authorize the issuance of not more than $300,715 in bonds or notes in accordance with the provisions of the Municipal Finance Act, RSA 33, and further to authorize the Select Board to issue and negotiate such bonds or notes and to determine the rate of interest thereon, and further to authorize the Select Board to apply for, obtain, and accept federal, state, and other aid, if any, including principal forgiveness, which may become available for this project. The town will receive a $100,000 grant to offset the cost of this project. Debt service will be paid from the general fund, water fund, and sewer fund. Estimated tax impact, assuming 5-year bond at 0.50% interest. .006 per thousand, or 63 cents per $100,000 of assessed property value. Bond payments would begin approximately 1 year after issuance. 3/5 ballot vote required for approval. This was recommended by the Select Board 4-0. Is there a member of the Select Board that would like to speak to this? Nico Constantos, thank you.
Thank you. I'll speak briefly to this. This is a project that has been long overdue. In FY20, the town voted to appropriate $100,000 for a concept design. This is the next step forward. This is a neighborhood where the pavement on the roadways and the sidewalks are deteriorating beyond repair. The sewer lines are old. They were constructed in the 1960s. Many of the property owners in this neighborhood suffer from water building up in their yards, and many of them have water built up in their basements. There will be some funding available via ARPA, but this is certainly a neighborhood that has been waiting patiently for their turn in the DPW list of projects. The Select Board unanimously voted to recommend this to all of you. Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Director Perry, did you wish to make a presentation? Okay, good. No questions, no amendments. This article will appear as printed on the ballot. The next article is to choose town officers. That's not one that we can amend or vote on, so we will skip over that. The next, Article 7, is the...
Madam Moderator?
I'm sorry?
Do we want to announce the list for the committees?
I'm sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay. Go right ahead and announce the list, because it's very important to know who is going to be running for these various offices.
So this is the Budget Recommendations Committee slate. I'll start with Judy Rowan, then Chris Zigmont, Corey Stevens, Christine Suter, Anna Grazier, Elizabeth Liz Canada, Anthony Zwan, and Bob Kelly. That's the Budget Recommendations Committee. And then for Ware, we have Jay Perkins. And then for Measure of Wood and Bark, we have Doug Eastman, and Fence Viewer Doug Eastman.
Excellent.
That's the list.
Thank you so much.
Moderator.
Great. All right. And now the next article, Article 7, is the 2022 operating budget. Shall the Town of Exeter raise and appropriate as an operating budget, not including appropriation by special warrant articles and other appropriations voted separately, the amounts set forth on the budget posted with the warrant, or as amended by vote of the first session, for the purposes set forth therein, totaling $20,387,002. Should this article be defeated, and the default budget shall be $20,084,542, which is the same as last year, with certain adjustments required by previous action of the Town of Exeter or by law, or the governing body may hold one special meeting in accordance with RSA 40:13, Roman 10 and 16, to take up the issue of a revised operating budget only. The estimated tax impact is 0.17 per 1,000 of assessed property value, or $17 for 100,000 of assessed property value. A majority vote is required on this, and it is recommended by the Select Board 4-0. Is there a member of the Select Board that would like to introduce this?
Madam Moderator, I think we'll defer to the Town Manager.
Okay, Town Manager.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. This is another year with our operating budget. As you'll see here, the town budget and warrant process starts early in August with preparation of the preliminary budget that is submitted to the town manager. And then in September, the town manager submits a preliminary budget to the Select Board and the Budget Recommendations Committee, along with the capital improvement requests that have gone through the Planning Board. In October, we go through a Budget Recommendations Committee process that vets all the department budgets. You'll see there, it's quite extensive. And then in November, the Budget Committee makes its final recommendations and submits those over to the Select Board. And the Select Board goes through their budget process in order to structure a budget that we bring to everyone at deliberative session. The FY22 budget format is 3 separate operating budget warrant articles, one for the general fund, one for the water fund, and one for the sewer fund. And the warrant articles are in the required format under the RSA. This is the budget article. So this year, the general fund budget is up 2.49% over FY21, and it's 2.36 over the adjusted budget. You can see the numbers there. And you can see the last several years of town tax rate history. And also important to know that the town makes up approximately 23% of the total tax levy. You can see the departments listed there. These are all the large departments and the small departments of the town budget. Highlights: largest 3 town departments continue to be police, fire, and EMS and public works. These budgets make up approximately 66% of the total town operating budget. In the budget this year, there's a step adjustment of 2.5% plus a COLA of 2% for eligible non-union employees. Fire, police, and DPW contracts are in separate warrant articles for separate voter approval. The benefits, our health insurance is up 1.6% this year. Non-union employees are contributing 14% to Access Blue New England. Non-union employees contribute 21% to the Blue Choice Plan as of July 2022. Then retirement increases in FY22 in July. That's a budget increase of $176,715 to the general fund. And then elections, we have 3 in FY22 versus 1 in FY21, so that's impacting the budget. And then some accounts have been adjusted to pre-COVID-19 levels or adjusted for inflation. On the expense side, human resources, there's funding for a full year of the assistant town manager HR director and movement of HR assistant from part-time to full-time. IT expenses increased due to full year funding of the network administrator position. In finance, we have an increase of $5,000 for biannual GASB 7475 reporting and Munis software agreement costs. And then in planning, we're proposing increasing funding for a part-time to full-time for our natural resources planner, so she can devote time to the sustainability and energy committees. Moving on, police, there's a new community relations program for $5,000, increased training funds by $4,000 with an emphasis on mental health training, and then 2 new firefighters in the fire EMS budget to bring the shift strength in all 4 shifts to 7, and that was recommended per community public safety, Center for Public Safety Management study in 2019 recommended hiring 2 new firefighters immediately from that study. And then they are budgeted for 6 months in the FY22 fire EMS budget, and there's a partial offset with an elimination of a part-time clerical position in the fire department. Communications health, there's health plan changes in that account, which has increased that account. DPW administration, there's a change in the health plan from a buyout to a family plan. And then DPW, there's some inflationary increases. Street marking, $10,000. Vehicle maintenance increase, $10,000. Storm drain cleaning increase of $10,000. And then these are, like I said, inflationary increases due to the age of the fleet, which is increasing the vehicle maintenance budget. The FY22 paving budget has been restored from $700,000 to $800,000. And then reduction in solid waste contract of $34,000 due to increased benefits from recyclables, so they're worth more. So that's bringing that budget down. Then a decrease in the landfill monitoring account of $58,965. There's an increase in recycling containers of $5,900, which is offset by revenue from bin sales. And then an increase in brush grinding of $5,000. More expenses, stormwater expense increase of $10,360 to meet the requirements of the MS4 permit, including work on the long-term control plan for nitrogen. An additional $28,000 in the stormwater budget for replacing catch basins that do not meet MS4 requirements, and that's part of our new general permit that we're working under through the EPA. Parks and Recreation, there's a change in health plan increase of $27,103. Then Parks, there's also a change in health plan there, an increase of $17,403. And then in the Parks equipment purchase line, there's an additional $2,000 for an enclosed trailer to carry equipment. Special events, we haven't increased the brass band budget in years, certainly well before my tenure here with the town. So that's being increased by $500. And then debt service, there's a net increase of $11,287, and that's due primarily to the Salem Street Design debt service added to the budget. That's a project that was passed at the last warrant. And another debt issue is retired, the Great Dam Design from several years back, and that is a decrease of $34,200. And then we have other debt issues that are maturing, resulting in lower interest. On the vehicles and equipment side, the budget category is lowered by $146,957 due to lease retirements. And then there's a net lowering of the budget of $142,957. The budget for vehicles does include a replacement of 2 police cruisers with hybrid models that will bring the police fleet total to 4 hybrids. And then townwide expenses, which are property liability insurance, workers' comp, and our health insurance buyout, that is a net increase of $9,181 as a result of fewer buyouts. You can see here, these are the general fund components of the budget. And there's a pie chart that shows the budgets, and you can see that police, fire, and DPW make up the largest chunk of the general fund budget. Turning to revenues, the main sources of general fund revenue continue to be motor vehicle registration fees, building permits, blue bag solid waste fees, and other department income. We also get highway block grant aid and meals and rooms tax local distribution, and that is actually increased significantly due to the efforts of the legislature in the last session, and then prior year fund balance. So we are estimating that total revenues applicable to budget in FY22 will be $7,770,314. Our total budget estimate is $20,387,002. And so the total taxes estimated to be raised by the budget are $12,616,688. And the total taxes raised by the FY21 budget, you can see there, were $12,107,582. That's the operating budget. If there are any questions.
Don't see anyone standing in line. Any questions?
I can go through the default budget. The default budget for the town is $20,084,542. That's $302,460 less than the FY22 general fund proposed budget. And you can see on the screen what the statutory definition of the default budget is. It's essentially last year's budget, reduced and increased as the case may be by debt service contracts and other obligations previously incurred or mandated by law, reduced by one-time expenses. This is the default budget. You can see the calculations by category for each area of the default budget. And in most cases, the default budget is lower, as you see there. So just going over the numbers again, the FY22 proposed budget, $20,387,002, 2.49% over the FY21 budget. The default budget is $20,084,542, which is a 0.97% over the FY21 budget. And you can see the dollar increase there. It's $495,920 for the operating budget over the prior year. The operating budget tax impact, you can see the estimates are $5.63 per thousand if everything goes according to plan and according to schedule. The overlay and veterans credits add 21 cents per thousand to the final town tax rate. So the budget tax rate projection, including the overlay and veterans credits, would be $5.84 per thousand. And you can see there that the 2021 town tax rate is $5.79 per thousand, so very close in numbers from the prior year. And this also assumes 1% increase in net taxable valuation established September 2022, and the latest median assessment ratio, which is reflective of the valuation of property in town, is 79%. That's all I have, Madam Moderator.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Seeing none and no amendments, this budget will appear as printed on the ballot. Our next article is 8, 2022 Water Fund Budget. Shall the Town of Exeter raise and appropriate as a water operating budget, not including appropriations by special warrant articles and other appropriations voted separately, the amounts set forth on the budget posted with the warrant or as amended by vote of the first session, for the purposes set forth therein, totaling $4,249,390, Should this article be defeated, the water default budget shall be $4,161,433, which is the same as last year with certain adjustments required by previous action of the Town of Exeter or by law. Is there a select board member who wishes to speak to this?
We're going to defer again to the town manager.
Okay. Town manager.
Thank you. So Article 8, the water fund budget, the FY22 proposed budget, as you stated, Madam Moderator, is $4,249,390. That's a 4.81% increase over the FY21 budget. And the default budget, as stated, is $4,161,433. And that's a 2.65% over the FY21 budget. You can see here that the dollar increase from FY21 on the water operating budget is $195,206 increase to that budget. I will state that the water rate impact is not yet known in terms of whether we would have to adjust rates. I think we have adjusted rates in 2021, and at this point, we are not looking at a rate increase for 2022 based upon the budget that's been presented. The water fund budget has 6 main programs. You can see them here. They're administration, water billing, water distribution, water treatment, debt service, and capital outlay. And I'll just state that in each of these each of these programs, they have their own budgets, and you can see that the numbers are where they are on the screen. Administration is $445,520. The water billing budget is $191,534. The distribution budget is $889,333. The water treatment budget is $846,432. And then the debt service is $1,323,021. And then capital outlay, which identifies capital outlay needs within the budget. This year, we're actually looking to do a contract for filter and clarifier replacement at the surface water treatment plant, and that budget is estimated at $553,550.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Yes.
Good morning. My name is Fred Bird. I live at 84 Kingston Road. I've been a resident since 1987. When I moved here, there were 5,000 residents in town. I don't think too many of them had septic systems and wells. There's about 22,000 people in town now, and I've replaced my septic system for $22,000 and my water system twice. And I'm wondering why I have to pay some taxes to the town for water I don't use. Why is it prorated for homeowners who use public water versus all of us who aren't using public water and public septic?
Is there someone who can respond to that?
Because I don't get reimbursed for my 40 grand that I've spent in 33 years here. I have to pay everything myself, plus pay a tax to the town for water and sewer.
Town manager, are you able to respond to that?
I need to hear the question again, I'm sorry.
Okay,
So I live at 84 Kingston Road. I spent $22,000 last year replacing my sewer system, my septic system. The town didn't pay for that. I don't tax the town for that money. I pay for it. But I'm paying a sewer tax to the town through warrant articles. Now you're doing improvements for water systems. I've replaced my water system twice since I lived there. It's about $8 grand, and the town isn't paying for any of that. So why am I paying for public water systems usage that I don't use? I'm just asking the question. It doesn't make sense that I'm paying for something that I'm not using.
So all of our water and sewer systems are fee-based systems. So unless you were receiving the service, you wouldn't be paying for either
But if
one.
you do a warrant article for an improvement to a public works project, I am paying for it, and I'm not using it. This man's shaking his head, maybe he has an answer for me.
No, unless you're benefiting from the public water system or the sewer system, you're not paying for. You wouldn't be paying for this.
But I'm going to pay this in my property taxes.
No, this is not, the Article 8 is not funded by property tax.
Okay.
The water and sewer enterprise funds are fully fee supported.
But this is on the warrant article, right?
Correct, it has to be, I'm sorry, Madam Moderator?
Yes.
Okay. So the water and sewer articles are put on the warrant for approval by the voters.
Okay.
But when we bill, this budget is captured in fees that are charged to residents
Great.
that are
Okay, I didn't
benefiting
know
from the
that.
service.
That answers my question.
Sorry, I wasn't able to
That's
interpret your
fine.
question.
Maybe I didn't ask it right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So they're fully fee supported.
So just to be clear, everything that the town is going to spend, whether it receives it through fees or through grants or other ways than taxation, all of that has to be approved by the town in order for that money to be expended. So whether it's raised by tax dollars or otherwise. So thank you. Any other questions on the water fund budget? Seeing none, that will appear on the ballot as printed. The next is the sewer fund budget. Shall the town of Exeter raise and appropriate a sewer operating budget, not including appropriation by special warrant articles and other appropriations voted separately, the amount set forth on the budget posted with the warrant or as amended by vote of the first session for the purposes set forth therein, totaling $7,385,953. Should this article be defeated, the default budget shall be $7,298,636, which is the same as last year with certain adjustments required by previous action of the Town of Exeter or by law. Majority vote is required, and this is recommended by the Select Board 4-0. Is there a member of the Select Board who would like to address this?
And the town manager will discuss this budget as well.
Thank you. Town Manager?
Thank you. So Article 9, the sewer fund budget, the proposed budget as stated by the moderator is $7,385,953. That's a 5.28% increase over the FY21 budget. The default budget, as you see here, is $7,298,636, and that's a 4.04% increase over the FY21 budget. The dollar increase from FY21 is $370,589. And again, the comment would be the default budget is 1.18% lower than the FY22 operating budget. Budget changes in this in the sewer budget include an increase of $198,713 in debt service. That's from the lagoon sludge removal project that was approved by the voters on the last warrant, and also the Salem Street Utility Project, the sewer share of that. And then $101,099 increase in sewer treatment costs resulting from treatment facility at our new wastewater treatment facility, the treatment of wastewater there. So the sewer rate impact of the 2022 budget, at this point, we are not looking at a sewer rate adjustment, but we will be reviewing the rates again in 2022 just to see where we are. We have approximately $3.4 million in the sewer fund balance at the time being, and so we're hoping to get through 2022 without a rate increase. In the sewer fund, there are 6 programs just like the water fund. They are administration, and that budget is $477,909. The sewer billing budget, $188,309. The sewer collection budget, which handles I&I abatement, pipe relining, manhole maintenance, pump and control maintenance, and electricity for pump and lift stations, $742,007. The sewer treatment budget, and that rolls in all of the costs associated with our new wastewater facility. And you can see in the FY22 budget, there's a lab testing increase of $59,000, and that's due to the new EPA permit requirements that we're dealing with as a town. And that budget is $1,431,279. The debt service budget, that includes the major categories of debt, and wastewater treatment facility leads that. That's a large payment that we make, about $3.6 million a year for the next 18 years or so on that. The lagoon sludge removal, the Salem Street Utility Project, and then Lincoln Street improvements, and that total debt service budget is $4,305,495. Then capital outlay, there's a sewer camera inspection replacement, wastewater treatment facility flume epoxy coating of one of the wells, the clear wells, the dredge of Clemson Pond, and then the FY22 budget in that category is $240,955. Again, total budget $7,385,953.
Are there any questions? Seeing none, that article will appear on the ballot as printed. The next article is number 10, Police Collective Bargaining Agreement. The see if the town will vote to approve the cost items included in the 4-year collective bargaining agreement reached between the Select Board and the Exeter Police Association, which calls for the following increased salaries and benefits at the current staffing levels in fiscal year 22, estimated salary and benefits increase of $38,749, fiscal year 23, estimated salary and benefits increase of $37,431. Fiscal year 24, estimated salary and benefits increase of $55,513. And for fiscal year 25, estimated salary and benefits increase of $78,204. And further to raise and appropriate the sum of $38,749 for the 28-22 fiscal year, such sum representing the additional costs attributable to the increase in salaries and benefits over those of the appropriation at current staffing levels. Estimated tax impact, 0.017 per 1,000 or $1.73 per 100,000 of assessed property value. Majority vote is required, and this is recommended by the Select Board. We may discuss this article, but because it's been previously negotiated between the Select Board and the Exeter Police Association, we're not allowed to amend the terms of this article. Is there a Select Board member who would like to address this?
Madam Moderator, thank you. And for the sake of brevity, my comments relative to this warrant article will also be applicable to the next two, which are also collective bargaining agreements for the Fire Department and the Service Employees International Union, respectively. One of the challenges that we face is not exclusive to the town of Exeter, but rather is a challenge that most municipalities are facing currently, and that is hiring and identifying and retaining good employees. And this has become a very big challenge as folks start to retire and others seek employment outside of municipal government or work. These three collective bargaining agreements were recommended by the Select Board unanimously. They are multi-year agreements. They are fair and competitive to our employees, allowing our department heads respectively to offer fair and competitive wages. But also, these three agreements respectively are fair and reasonable to the taxpayers. And the Select Board felt very comfortable recommending all three to you. Thank you, Madam Moderator.
Thank you. I see a speaker. Your name, please?
Yes, Darius Thompson, 15 Drinkwater Road, Exeter, Hampshire. My question is that who from the town, or who represented the town in the negotiation with the respective unions?
Can someone respond to that question?
I can.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
The town manager,
Okay.
department heads, and council.
So on this article, you said the Select Board recommends this. Why wasn't members of the Select Board, as in years past, present at those negotiations? Why do we have one person from the town manager, and council, and the department heads negotiating? If the Select Board is recommending this, I think you have skin in the game and actually be there and negotiating for these agreements. If you so highly recommend them a 4-0, how can you possibly know what the details are if only one representative from the town, that being the town manager, is there negotiating the contracts? I think that it would be responsible as elected members of our community and leaders to be present at those negotiations. That's all.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? Seeing none, this article will appear on the ballot as printed. Article 11 is Fire Collective Bargaining Agreement. To see if the town will vote to approve the cost items included in the 3-year collective bargaining agreement reached between the Select Board and the Exeter Firefighters Local 3491, which calls for the following increased salaries and benefits at the current staffing levels. For fiscal year 22, estimated salary and benefits increase of $54,408. For fiscal year 2023, estimated salary and benefits increases of $72,593. For fiscal year 2024, estimated salary and benefits increases of $68,174. And further, to raise and appropriate the sum of $54,408 for the 2020 fiscal year, such sums representing the additional costs attributable to the increase in salaries and benefits over those of the appropriation at current staffing levels. Estimated tax impact, 0.02 per thousand, or $2.43 per $100,000 of assessed property value. Majority vote is required, and this is recommended by the Select Board 4-0. Is there a Select Board member? I believe it'll be the Town Manager on this one. Is that correct? Town Manager?
Yeah, I'll keep my comments brief. I would say that we had a successful negotiation with our Exeter Professional Firefighters Group, and it is a 3-year agreement, and as stated in the article, the costs are what they are. I would echo what Chairman Papakonstantis said, which is, in this bargaining session, in this bargaining agreement, we are trying to find the right balance in our contract between ourselves and our competitors. It is becoming more competitive all the time in terms of retaining our employees, so we had a successful negotiation and support recommending this.
Thank you. Any questions on this? Seeing none, this will appear as printed in the warrant on the ballot. Article 12 is the SEIU Collective Bargaining Agreement, to see if the town will vote to approve the cost items included in the 3-year collective bargaining agreement reached between the Select Board and the Service Employees International Union, Local 1984, covering public works and administrative/clerical employees, which calls for the following increased salaries and benefits at the current staffing levels. Just as a note, the funding comes from both Water and Sewer Fund and the General Fund. So for fiscal year 2022, Water and Sewer Fund, $22,082, General Fund, $29,145, for a total of $51,227. For fiscal year 2023, from the Water and Sewer Fund, $17,538, from the General Fund, $17,899, for a total of $35,437. For fiscal year 2024, from the Water and Sewer Fund, $26,976, and from the General Fund, $33,003, for a total of $59,979. And further, to raise and appropriate the sum of $51,227 for the 2022 fiscal year, such sum representing the additional costs attributable to the increase in salaries and benefits over those of the appropriation at current staffing levels. The amounts raised will be $29,145 through taxation, the General Fund, and $22,082 from the Water and Sewer Funds. The estimated tax impact is .013 per thousand, or $1.30 per $100,000 of assessed property value. Majority vote is required. This is recommended by the Select Board 4-0. Town Manager, do you have anything to present on this?
Yep, my only comment here would be that, like the other two agreements, we have an increase in health insurance coming 1% per year. The union has agreed to increase their health insurance contribution for the first 2 years at 1% for each year, so total of 2%. And then the second year of the contract, there is a step raise, but no cost of living adjustment, which is why the second year is lower. Other than that, I just wanted to reiterate, again, this is a very tough labor market, and we're definitely working hard to try to strike agreements with our bargaining units that reflect our desire to keep our good employees. So I wanted to just put that out there.
Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I would like to use this as an opportunity to answer the question about why the Select Board is not in on these union negotiations, and this goes for all the negotiations that we're voting on typically the process is that a town manager and council work with the SEIU or fire or police representatives to go through what the bargaining units would like to negotiate this year for each year. And what is brought to the select board is a tentative agreement where the town manager and town council explain what the reasoning is between what's being asked for and what the response is. And that gives the select board the opportunity to agree or say, go back to the drawing board on this one. There is no select board in the negotiations because in the past we found that it's been, or the input from the unions is that it is intimidation. And I will tell you the last time that I was on a negotiation, my mother had fallen and broken her wrist, and at the time the negotiations were happening, I was always at a doctor's appointment with my mother or with her when she had surgery, and it was cited in the union's position that the select person doesn't respect the union because she had never been to the meetings. And so we found that was a difficulty that was coming up between management and the collective bargaining units that we wanted to ease, and we wanted to make it more official and just be sure, or not official, but more inducive to a good conversation. So just be sure that the select board does have input into these union contracts because it's our final say on what the contract is, and if we agree or disagree with the tentative agreements, and we get the details, and we get the reasoning, and we say, okay, go with that one, and then we might argue about one, but again, we get the reasoning for what it is. So we do have input into these different union negotiations, and I just want to be sure that you understand it isn't just the town manager and our attorney. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no more questions, the article will appear on the ballot as printed. Our next article is Article 13, Engine 5 replacement, to see if the town will vote to authorize the select board to enter into a 10-year lease purchase agreement for $650,000 for the purpose of lease purchasing a replacement for Engine 5 in the fire department, and to raise and appropriate the sum of $82,355, which represents the first of 10 annual payments, a total of $745,453 for this purpose. This lease purchase will contain an escape, non-appropriation clause. This sum to come from general taxation, estimated tax impact .037 per thousand, or $3.68 per $100,000 of assessed property value. A majority vote is required, and this is recommended by the Select Board 4-0. Is there a member of the Select Board who would like to speak to this?
Yes, thank you, Madam Moderator. All of our departments take their fleet maintenance and inventory seriously. The Budget Recommendations Committee works very hard to also vet through any vehicle replacements. Engine 5 is 20 years old. It has required many repairs through the years to the tune of over $100,000, but I would say that over half of that, those repairs have come just in the last 2 years. Further to that, since this engine was purchased 20 years ago, there have been safety upgrades that have been made that this engine does not meet. So the Select Board recommends unanimously to recommend purchasing and upgrading Engine 5, and I think the Chief also has some information.
Thank you. Chief, would you like to?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Eric Wilking, your Fire Chief and Emergency Management Director, and I live at 20 Chestnut Street. I couldn't have said it better, Selectman Popka-Standis. I would only add that the urgency for this piece, the corrosion underneath and the unknown repair costs are going to continue to increase. And as the Select Chair mentioned, we spent $55,000 in the last 3 years, and it seems like we're just trying to plug a hole in a leaking ship. The two drivers driving reasons why we asked for this to be brought this year include also the manufacturers are seeing huge swings in costs to construction. The construction industry is very volatile, as well as build time. The truck we may be able to order, we're sending out competitive bids through the RFP process. We hope the price will be less than $650, but we won't know until the bids are open. But the 7 major manufacturers I spoke to over the last 30 days, the average build time of this engine is 450 to 480 days. That's 15 to 16 months. So even when we get in the queue, we're talking about an engine that won't be delivered until the summer of '23. So it's important to get this stuff moving, and I appreciate the Select Board's support for that.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, that article will appear on the ballot as printed. Article 14 is the fire SCBA PACS lease purchase, to see if the town will vote to authorize the Select Board to enter into a 7-year lease purchase agreement for the purpose of lease purchasing SCBA's self-contained breathing apparatus equipment for the Exeter Fire Department, and to raise and appropriate the sum of $59,064, which represents the first of 7 annual payments, a total of $385,547 for this purpose. This lease agreement will contain an escape clause. Estimated tax impact 0.026 per 1,000, or $2.64 per $100,000 of assessed property value. Majority vote required, recommended by the Select Board 4-0. Is there a Select Board member who wishes to address this?
I could, but Chief Wilkin will be able to explain it better, so.
Chief, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Moderator, again. The Fire Department seeks your support in replacing the worn-out or 11-year-old but worn-out SCBA's. This is probably the most important piece of equipment we use in the Fire Department, other than our turnout gear itself, to protect us from the heat. The confidence the firefighters have in the SCBA's is directly related to the amount of failure or the amount of problems we have with the PACs. In 2011, we purchased 45 air packs at that time. We have 40 remaining in service. Over the last 10 years, we've had to take 5 packs out of service, and we're cannibalizing them for parts to keep the 40 we have remaining in service. Doing our inventory, we see that we really only need 36 units. Those are the seated positions within the fire department. In other words, every seat in the ladder truck engine, and packs appropriate to the ambulances, so we have them. So we've reduced our purchase requirement to just 36, absolutely necessary. These units are available, and through the RFP process, as soon as the voters assuming the voters vote to support this, the RFP process will go out and we'll be able to open it, and we have looked to replace these within 30 to 90 days from that RFP process. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Seeing none, this article will appear on the ballot as printed. The next is Article 15, Rains Barn Improvements, to see if the town will raise and appropriate the sum of $249,000 for the purpose of making improvements to the Rains Barn located on Newfields Road. The appropriation of $249,000 will be offset by an LCHIP grant for $100,000 and a withdrawal from the Conservation Fund of $49,000, with the balance of $100,000 to be appropriated from unassigned fund balance. Estimated tax impact is none, with no amount to be raised by taxation. Majority vote required, recommended by the Select Board 4-0. Is there a Select Board member who would like to address this?
I can briefly, Madam Moderator.
Thank you.
Again, there's no amount to be raised by taxation, but I just wanted to say that the LCHIP grant initially was applied for back in 2018, and the town unfortunately was not approved for that. That didn't stop us from trying again, and I just want to give a lot of credit to staff and also the Conservation Commission that not only vigorously applied again for this LCHIP grant, and it was approved. There's also money coming from the Conservation Commission Fund. This is a town treasure. This is a valued piece of property that really could use these repairs now, and I just want to thank staff and also the Conservation Commission for their hard work on what they've done to make this come to fruition. And I know Kristen Murphy's here. I'd love to hear from her.
Thank you. Kristen Murphy is the Natural Resources Planner. Sorry. Apologize for the height of that thing.
Right, no, that's fine. Thank you very much, Kristen Murphy, Natural Resource Planner for the town. I think I've got it. Okay, thank you. In lieu of going through the effort to get the slides up, I just want to let everyone know that Rains Barn, the grant that we did receive from LCHIP is contingent on the town providing a match. If we aren't able to raise the match, the grant is no longer an option for us. And I know that not everyone has been inside the barn, but I did on the fact sheets put the images on the back. So if you want to see the condition of some of the interior that we're planning to make repairs for, you can just review the back of the fact sheet. And really that's, Bob, that's okay. So please do take a moment to review the back of the fact sheet for this article, and I do want to thank all of the members of the Rains Farm Stewardship Committee and the Conservation Commission for their support in this process.
Thank you very much. I see someone coming to the mic with a question. Yes.
Darius Thompson, 15 Drinkwater Road. How you doing? As a resident of Exeter, I have visited Rains Farm property many times. I know there's a lot of residents that use that for snowshoeing. We also had some different events out there when they were doing a trebuchet and different things. It is a great resource. I've taken some pictures when I've been allowed to go inside the barn. It is a fantastic representation of the historical barns that have been here in New England, and that sadly we see some of them, even in this town, are in disrepair. It is important that we support this. I think it is a vital resource, a natural resource that's been gifted to us by the Rains family. If you haven't visited the property, I encourage you to do so. You can take your dog, make sure you take your bag to pick up after your dog. But it's a great property that runs adjacent to the train tracks, open fields, open space. Everything we can do to support this in conjunction with matching so we can get the grant funding. It is vital. It's important to our history that we support this warrant article, and that I am highly in favor of it. I hope you are as well. And do take a look at the fact sheets and pictures. And if so, go out to the property and view it. It's just a wonderful, wonderful property. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other questions or amendments, that article will appear on the ballot as printed. Article 16. Police body-worn cameras, to see if the town will vote to authorize the select board to enter into a 5-year lease purchase agreement for the purpose of lease purchasing body cameras and associated equipment for the Exeter Police Department, and to raise and appropriate the sum of $42,846, which represents the first of 5 annual payments, a total of $204,139 for this purpose. This lease agreement shall contain an escape clause. Estimated tax impact is .019 per thousand or $1.91 per $100,000 of assessed property. A majority vote is required, and this is recommended by the Select Board 4-0. Is there a member of the Select Board who would like to address this?
Madam Moderator, we're going to defer to Chief Poulin.
Chief Poulin, thank you.
Hello, everyone. Yes, the Exeter Police Department would like to implement body-worn cameras for all of its officers. The obvious benefit of this is transparency within the agency and for the community that it serves. It also will reduce citizen complaints, and a US DOJ study actually found the complaints go way down when officers have body cameras on them. Also offers aspects of improved training, so we'll be able to review officers that are on scene at a call and see how that call was handled, if there's things they could have done better, enhance our policies and procedures as such. This particular system is the best of the best, and our philosophy is if we're going to do something like this, we want to do it right the first time. This system is in place by Manchester PD, Nashua PD, and the New Hampshire State Police. Dover Police have also been approved to purchase this system. And what this system does is it offers active uploading of data immediately, and the data is encrypted. Also constant charging of the camera system on the officers. Now, this particular camera on the officers is not going to be one of those bulky items that you might see on a lapel or something like that. This is integrated into the uniform. And the cost also includes uniform retrofit, training, and cruiser retrofit as well. These offer a holster sensor, so anytime the firearm is removed from a holster, it will automatically turn on. As such with the cruiser emergency lights. Anytime the cruiser lights are activated, the camera turns on. So again, the future of policing is body-worn cameras. They've been around for some time now, coming out from the West Coast all the way to the East. Like everything else, the East is a little bit behind, but in New Hampshire particularly, with the LEACT Commission and our own Stakeholders Commission, our Select Board, all support this, and we thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, this article will appear on the ballot as printed. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Article 17, sewer capacity rehabilitation, to see if the town will raise and appropriate through special warrant article the sum of $200,000 for the purpose of engineering services related to sewer capacity rehabilitation. This sum is to come from sewer funds. Majority vote is required, and it's recommended by the Select Board 4-0. Is there a member of the Select Board who would like to address this?
Madam Moderator, we'll defer to DPW Director Perry, but just to reiterate that there's no tax impact on this article.
Thank you. Director Perry?
Thank you. This is to conduct an evaluation of the cross-country sewer line that parallels High Street from pretty much the Hampton Town Line, Finney Lane, all the way to Gilman Lane. It's over 12,000 linear feet of sewer. It's very difficult for us to access. It runs through wetlands. We have been able to clean and televise some short segments, but we haven't been able to conduct a complete evaluation of the entire line. This line is approximately the same age as the reinforced concrete pipe that was on High Street that failed back in 2017. So we have some serious concerns about its integrity. We need to know what might need to be repaired or replaced, or can we just do a rehabilitation? So this is the preliminary work to do that assessment.
Thank you very much. Any questions?
Madam Chair, I'd like to speak to that. Just so you know, there are a couple pieces of legislation that would enlarge the capacity or the amount of housing units to be allowed on one piece of property. And if that is passed, it will affect the sewer and water and sewer capabilities, and we would have to assess whether or not we can do that before we add these things to our zoning ordinance. A couple of them are mandated, which I think will fail because they are mandated, and a couple are allow governing bodies or legislative bodies to approve whether or not they go forward. So this is a condition, even on High Street, that at my own property I could add 4 or 3 living units and have a 4 upper capacity, but it would have effect on how much water and sewer capacity comes from my one piece of property. So just understand that knowing what we have will affect whether or not I want to vote on those bills, and if we think it's good for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other questions, this article will appear on the ballot as printed. Article 18, appropriate to Capital Reserve Fund Parks Improvement to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $100,000 to be added to the Parks Improvement Capital Reserve Fund previously established. This sum to come from unassigned fund balance. Estimated tax impact none, no amount to be raised by taxation. Majority vote required, recommended by the Select Board 4-0. Is there a member of the board who'd like to address this? Ms. Gilman?
Yes, very simply, I'd like to say that this is a different fund than we're asking for the 10 Hampton Road Fund. This one allows, because the Parks and Recreation Department isn't all about recreation, it includes parks. And we have seen a backlog of improvements to play equipment that no longer meets the either ADA or materials requirements or not unacceptable materials. We've seen some improvements at Kids Park or the Purple Dinosaur Park. Take a look at that because those are really fun pieces of equipment. But we also have other places that we want to do some work. Park Street Common, we'd really like to add more better play structures, make the paths a little safer rather than people walking into people who are swinging. There's plenty of room for that to happen right now. And also at Park Street, there are going to be refillable water stations, so you can bring your one bottle and refill it there as opposed to bringing several bottles of water, which will help us be sustainable. There are other parks that need attention, and it's just a totally separate aspect of what this department does. So I really support this in order to bring us up to safety standards and sustainable standards. So thank you very much to vote on this one.
Thank you. Seeing no other questions or amendments, this article will appear on the ballot as printed. Article 19, highway truck replacement, to see if the town will raise and appropriate through special warrant article the sum of $71,801 for the purpose of purchasing a replacement for highway truck number 9, purchased in 2007. This replacement is for an existing 1-ton truck to a 1.5-ton, quote, switch and go, close quote, hook truck, F550. This vehicle is primarily used for light-duty hauling, landscaping, asphalt work, drainage, and catch basin maintenance. The sum to come from unassigned fund balance, estimated tax impact none, no amount to be raised by taxation. Is there a member of the Select Board who would like to address this?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. The Town of Exeter has a vehicle replacement schedule, and currently this vehicle is 7 years overdue to be replaced. There's a lot of mileage on the vehicle. It is used daily, and again, this is one of the pieces of equipment that was identified to be raised from the unassigned fund balance. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other questions or amendments, this article will appear on the ballot as printed. Article 20, replace DPW hot box asphalt reclaimer, to see if the town will raise and appropriate through special warrant article the sum of $59,481 for the purpose of purchasing a replacement hot box asphalt reclaimer for the highway department. This is the department's primary equipment to fill potholes. The current hot box was purchased in 2005. Estimated tax impact, .027 per thousand, $2.65 per 100,000 of assessed property value. Majority vote required. Recommended by the Select Board 4-0. Is there a member of the Select Board who'd like to take this up?
I don't know if Director Perry had any comments, but I just wanted to say that this is a piece of equipment that is used regularly and is old and is in need of replacement.
Thank you.
Perry?
Director Perry?
I think that pretty much sums it up. It is in very old condition. It looks great on the outside because our department recently did a paint job, but on the inside it's in very tough condition. It's getting difficult to find replacement parts, and as you can all appreciate, having something that can be reliable as far as pothole patching is absolutely essential.
Thank you. I'm grateful for the opportunity to say hot box asphalt reclaimer. I don't get to use that phrase very often. No other questions. This will appear as printed on the ballot. Article 21, intersection improvements plan funding, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate through special warrant article the sum of $50,000 for the purpose of conducting and creating an intersection improvement proposal with preliminary designs to improve intersections and intersection areas, including Pine, Front, Linden Street, Front Street, Water Street, and Clifford Street, Water Street, Winter Street, Columbus Avenue, Railroad Avenue, and others. This sum is to come from general taxation. Estimated tax impact, .022 per thousand, or $2.23 per $100,000 of assessed property value. Majority vote required. Recommended by the Select Board 4-0. Is there a member of the Select Board who would like to address this? Yes, Ms. Gilman.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I think this one is self-explanatory. We've all seen the changes at the Brentwood Road, Epping Road intersection and the results, perfect or not. This planned improvement program will help solve the other improvements that help us solve other problems that we've all recognized. And it will help us solve those and recognize which are more difficult and have an opportunity to see what safety improvements are possible with public input, of course. I learned to drive here in Exeter and always do what I can to avoid the intersections that are placed on this article. Sorry to the Gill Street residents. This plan will prioritize, but will also take some time. So please be excited, but be patient. And that's it.
Thank you very much. Seeing no questions or amendments, this article will appear on the ballot as printed. Article 22, Public Works Facility Garage. To see if the town will raise and appropriate through special warrant article the sum of $50,000 for the purpose of design work on a new garage at the Public Works Complex on Newfields Road. This sum to come from general taxation, $25,000, water funds, $12,500, and sewer funds, $12,500. Estimated tax impact, 0.011 per thousand, or $1.12 per 100,000 of assessed property value. Majority vote required, recommended by the Select Board 3-1. Is there a member of the Select Board who would like to address this?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. This has been kicked around for several years now. The Public Works Facility Garage is very old and is very quickly becoming in a state of disrepair. A year ago, this came before the Budget Recommendations Committee. The recommendation was made to the Select Board. However, the amount of money was significantly higher than the $50,000, and the Select Board voted to take it off of the warrant. This year, Director Perry's taken a different approach and come in with a recommendation or proposal for a much lower sum of $50,000 to do a facility analysis. Again, only half of this would come from general taxation. The rest would come from water and sewer funds. I don't know, Director Perry, if you wanted to add anything.
Director Perry.
Thank you. Yes, this is, there are several reasons that are driving the need for replacement of the highway garage and other facilities at Public Works. This facility was built in the late 1960s, and we cannot meet the current snow load requirements, so we have to have a load sensor on the roof that indicates when it's time to do snow removal. We have inadequate space to store all of our equipment. We're in the process of doing a brief video so that people will be able to see what we're challenged with as far as parking all of our equipment, especially in the wintertime with plows and wings. There's been a fair amount of damage that's been sustained by the garage door entryways. And we have inadequate facilities for our staff. We only have a single locker room. There's no locker room for women. There's a very small conference room that's used by more than just the Public Works Department. The police department has also been using our facility. And the cafeteria is substandard. So it's time to show support for our staff that are out doing the hard work as they have been all week this week. It's a perfect example of being able to come in and get a hot cup of coffee and a quick microwaved meal and get back out to doing snow removal. The site at Public Works at 13 Newfields Road is somewhat challenging in that we have obviously the wastewater treatment plant. We have multiple large utility lines that run through the facility or through the site, including two major gas lines. And we have acquired a parcel adjacent to us. A 4.5-acre parcel was acquired by the town 5 years ago that we would like to look at as far as including in our site as far as expansion. We also have to look at replacement for our gassing facilities. The existing pumps are in very poor condition for both diesel and gas. So.
Thank you very much. I see a speaker approaching the mic.
Hi again, Darius Thompson, 15 Drinkwater Road, a resident of Exeter. This is asking for $50,000 to do an assessment of something that we know needs to be fixed. Everything you just mentioned, Jennifer, to me, Director Perry, nothing personal with this. It seems like this should be a capital improvement project. If the building was built in 1960, I would consider this part of our infrastructure. I can't say thank you enough to what DPW does to make certain that all the things that we don't want to see or talk about function, operate, and we don't have to worry about it. Yes, we as taxpayers have spent, our rates have gone up to pay for the new water treatment sewer, watching the nitrogen levels and everything. That's important to take care of that. But our critical infrastructure needs to, our pipe sewers and the people that take care of that, they need to have a building and facility that they should be looking forward to go to, not have to worry about snow load and other things. It's probably time that we look at doing a capital improvement project to renovate and do that. I think part of that money, if you're looking for this $50,000, should come from the fees that you're generating. There's fees for water, sewer, the rates go up, continue. Every project comes on, the rates go up, rates go up, rates go up. Why not use some of that revenue from those fees and not to offset this ask? Again, we know that the building needs to be fixed. As mentioned, why spend $50,000 to do that? Why not come back and make it a capital project? Spell it out, let's get it done.
Just as a point of clarification, of the 50,000, 25 comes from general taxation, and the other 25,000 comes half from water and half from sewer funds, so it's partially supported.
Yes, partially supported, but my point is, any money that you're requesting the taxpayers to pay just to do an assessment doesn't make a lot of sense. We know this needs to be done, why not do it as a capital improvement project? Put it into it, and let's get it done.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak to this? Thank you. Seeing no amendments, this will appear on the ballot as printed. Article 23, replace Car 3 Fire Department to see if the town will raise and appropriate through special warrant article the sum of $47,969 for the purpose of purchasing and equipping a replacement for Fire Department Car 3. This purchase would replace a 2010 Ford Expedition with an F-250 pickup. The vehicle will be used for incident command. This sum to come from unassigned fund balance. Estimated tax impact none. No amount to be raised by taxation. Is there a select board member who'd like to address this?
Madam Moderator, will defer to Chief Wilkin.
Thank you. Chief Wilkin, we're making you go to the mic again.
You are. It's a hazard having multiple things on the warrant, I guess. But thank you, Madam Moderator, and Select Board. We are asking to replace one of our staff cars that was purchased in 2010. It was purchased as a command vehicle, as a 2010 Ford Expedition. It's got 108,000 miles on it today. We're looking to purchase a more versatile vehicle for our fire department fleet. We're looking to replace this with an F-250 pickup that we can pull our trailers, we can go to trainings with, we can put our dirty gear and equipment and hose in the back of it instead of in the body of a sedan type SUV, and that helps us stay more healthy and the more we learn about cancer and the carcinogens that are in our fires. So we hope you can support this article. And as it says, the board and town manager recommend it come out of the fund balance, so there's no tax impact to this vehicle. So thank you, Madam Moderator.
Thank you. Seeing no other questions and no amendments, this article will appear as printed on the ballot. Article 24, Facilities Condition Assessment, to see if the town will raise and appropriate through special warrant article the sum of $45,000 for the purpose of hiring a consultant to conduct a facilities condition assessment, FCA, and to set up a database for town facilities. The assessment will include an accounting and evaluation of all town buildings and their systems. The consultant will input the data from the assessment into a software system that will be used by the town for facility maintenance and capital asset planning. This sum to come from general taxation, estimated tax impact 0.020 per thousand, or $2.01 per $100,000 of assessed property value. Majority vote required, recommended by the Select Board 4-0. Is there a Select Board member who would like to speak to this? Ms. Gilman, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. The facilities condition assessment was recommended by our Facilities Advisory Committee. This is a tool to help municipalities and other organizations plan maintenance and capital projects and prioritize them. It's tracked through software for work to be done and when it is done, and planning for it to occur, when it's next going to occur, much like our vehicle study that gives us some, what's the livable time of a fire engine or a police car. And I would guess to see more, to look at the Facilities Advisory Committee Town's website, because I'm not going to get into all the detail that they have. And somebody is Chris here? Would you like to speak to a little bit?
Chris, thank you. Chris Weeks is on the Facilities Advisory Committee for the town.
Hi, my name is Chris Weeks. I live at 7 Penn Lane, and I'm also the chair of the Facility Advisories Committee. So this is something we've been looking into for the past 4 years on the Facility Advisory Committee. And what this would do, this would provide a study in two parts. The first would be an assessment of all the town buildings and all of their systems. It would provide information like the age of everything in the building, replacement costs, maintenance plans, things like that. And that would all be input into a database. And then that database would be provided to the town with training that the DPW could then use to generate preventive maintenance schedules and also capital forecasting to help the town administration and the select board look out, like over 10 to 15 years, what things are going to need to be replaced on buildings. And it'll help them make better decisions on how to allocate money for replacement and renovation of the town's buildings. And the last thing I'll say is this is a system that a lot of municipalities are moving to. Also, a lot of colleges or any place with campus-type setups with multiple buildings, they're moving to systems like this because it allows them to better centralize all this information and it helps them stay on top of their buildings and their maintenance. So it's another thing that, similar to what Chief Poulin said earlier, it's kind of where everybody is going as well. So that's all I have, and happy to take any questions if needed.
Thank you. Why don't you step aside from the mic and we'll see if we need you to come back.
Good morning again, Don Clement, Sullivan Drive. Just a point of clarification. I'm looking at the fact sheet for this article, and the article is written, says that the tax impact will be 20 cents per thousand or $2.01 for $100,000 assessed property value. At the bottom of the fact sheet, it says tax impact is going to be $4.55 for $100,000. So there's a kind of a difference there. Which one is correct, and why is there two different tax impact numbers? That's my question, and hopefully you can clarify that. Somebody can. Thank you.
Sorry about that.
So you're looking at the fact sheet that's back at the center of the auditorium?
Yes.
Yep. I see the discrepancy you're referring to.
Yeah, Madam Moderator,
Yes.
I think I can supply the answer to that. The fact sheet amount is not correct, if that's what Mr. Clement said, and it is .020 per thousand, $2.01 per 100,000, as the article is written.
So the tax impact of project at the bottom of the fact sheet is incorrect.
Yes.
By the way, I didn't pick it up, my wife did, so.
Good catch. Thank you.
Sharp eyes, thank you.
And apologies.
Thank you, Mrs. Clement.
All right, the next article is 25. Replace DPW Jeep Patriot 65 with hybrid. To see if the town will raise and appropriate through special warrant article the sum of $44,750 for the purpose of purchasing a replacement for Jeep Patriot number 65 in the Public Works Department. This purchase would replace a 2013 Jeep Patriot with a Ford Explorer hybrid vehicle. Estimated tax impact, .020 per thousand or $2 per $100,000 of assessed property value. Majority vote required, recommended by the Select Board 4-0. Is there someone on the board who would like to address this?
Real quickly, Madam Moderator, this is a 24/7 emergency vehicle, and though the mileage is not as high as some of the other vehicles, these are stop-and-go miles. And again, this replacement would be a bigger, more efficient and hybrid model.
Thank you. Director Perry, did you wish to speak to this?
Thank you. I just wanted to quickly add that the mileage on this is approaching 100,000 miles. However, it is in serviceable condition, and this would be repurposed within the Public Works Department. It would go to the Water Sewer Department, because we know we could probably still get several more years of service out of this. We need to increase the size of this because this is the assigned vehicle to the highway superintendent, who does have to carry quite a bit of response materials with him, and this needs to be a slightly larger vehicle, but we wanted to offset some of the increased carbon footprint, if you will, by going with a hybrid vehicle.
Thank you. Seeing no other speakers or amendments, this article will appear on the ballot as printed. Article 26, Bike Pedestrian Improvement Plan, to see if the town will raise and appropriate through special warrant article the sum of $25,000 for the purpose of conducting a town-wide bicycle pedestrian plan as outlined in the town master plan. This sum to come from general taxation. Estimated tax impact, .011 per thousand or $1.12 per $100,000 of assessed property value. Majority vote required, recommended by the Select Board 4-0. Is there a member of the Select Board that wishes to speak to this? Yes, Ms. Gilman.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I'm having trouble today with my M words. This project is another sustainability priority process as outlined in the town's master plan. It will plan for safe pedestrian and cycling routes throughout the town. It will study our sidewalks, which are, we know some problem ones, but we haven't done a complete study of all the sidewalks in town and where we should extend them or put in new ones. It will promote walking and cycling to lessen the traffic that is used by cars and lessen their carbon, thus lessening the carbon emissions we have around town. And like I said, this town is supported and is a goal of the town's master plan. I don't know if Dave or Jennifer want to speak to it. Is that enough? That's it.
Is Dave Sharples here? I'm not sure.
Did I say enough?
Dave, would you like to speak? I'm going to haul you down from way up there. Dave is the town planner for Town of Exeter.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dave Sharples, town planner. And Selectman Gilman did a great job. I just will add that this has been in the CIP for several years, and then we went through the master planning process in 2017 and adopted the master plan in 2018, and we had several hundred people participate in that process. It was a very engaging process, had a lot of citizen input, and one of the overwhelming topics that kept coming out was sidewalks, bikes, alternative modes of transportation. So this was really one of those primary goals of the folks that provided their input during the 2018 master plan, and it is an action item in our adopted master plan.
Super, thank you. Seeing no other questions or amendments, this article will appear as printed on the ballot. Article 27, appropriate to sick leave trust fund to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $100,000 to be added to the sick leave expendable trust fund previously established. This sum to come from the unassigned fund balance. Estimated tax impact is none, no amount to be raised by taxation. Majority vote required, recommended by the Select Board 4-0. Is there a Select Board member who would like to address this?
We'll defer to the town manager, Madam Moderator.
Okay, town manager.
Yes, just briefly, this is a customary article. We have a policy in place, and it has been a policy since 1989 to allow employees to buy back 50% of their accrued sick leave upon retirement or 20 years of service with the town, and this fund funds those buybacks.
Thank you. I see a person waiting to speak at the microphone.
Yes, hi, my name is Ann Sermon, 14 Cullen Way. I have a question on this one, but mainly the ones that have all been from the sum to come from unassigned fund balance, which I totally understand for the sick leave trust and also ice and snow. But I did a quick add, and I could be wrong, but I'm up to $324,000 on other articles that we've talked about or that are coming up. From the money is coming from unassigned fund balance, which is great. I mean, it's kind of a good thing, but at the same time, I'd like to know how much money does the town actually have in this unassigned fund balance? Because this is leftover money from all kinds of reasons. We all know, I don't know, actually, I don't think it was really explained to everybody what the unassigned fund balance means. And like I said, it's a good thing in a way, but also the fact that we have so much also is cause for my question as to how much do we have in the unassigned fund balance.
So
thank you.
Is there someone who could address and explain what the unassigned fund balance may be as a concept?
So the unassigned fund balance is essentially a balance sheet position that the town has, and it's a snapshot in time of if all of your revenues were in and all of your expenses were accounted for. It's your surplus, essentially what you have on the balance sheet is a surplus. And so it's available for appropriation, and it's available to lower the tax rate. And each year we use approximately $700,000 to $800,000 of the town's unassigned fund balance to lower the tax rate at tax rate setting time. So that's some insight into the fund balance. The latest figure we have is $4.9 million. That's what the town's unassigned fund balance is. And again, it's important to have an unassigned fund balance because of cash outlays and so forth. You need to have that cushion so you don't have to float a tax anticipation note. So in this warrant process, you'll see, I think there's $478,000 in total of contemplated spending from unassigned fund balance. So there would be no tax impact. We take it from that $4.9 million surplus.
Just for clarity, could you let us know at what point in the fiscal year the money is removed from the unassigned fund balance to be used for these purposes?
Throughout the year.
Okay.
So.
All right, any other questions? Seeing none, this article will appear on the ballot as printed. Article 28, appropriate to non-capital reserve fund snow and ice deficit to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $50,000 to be added to the snow and ice deficit non-capital reserve fund previously established. This sum to come from the unassigned fund balance, estimated tax impact none, no amount to be raised by taxation. Majority vote is required, recommended by the Select Board 4-0. Is there a member of the Select Board who would like to address this?
Madam Moderator, will defer to the town manager.
Okay, town manager.
Yes, this is a fund that's been in place for some time, and generally, annually, we come to the deliberative session with a request to the voters to add another $50,000 to the fund. As it's written in the narrative, in any given year, we can overexpend snow and ice to anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000. We've had years where we've overspent the budget by even more than that. So we use this as a hedge to make sure that we have a reserve in place in the event that we have a really bad winter and we overspend the snow and ice budget.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? Seeing none, this article will appear on the ballot as printed. Appropriate, Article 29, appropriate to trust fund Swayze Parkway to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $3,625 to be added to the Swayze Parkway Trust Fund previously established. This sum to come from unassigned fund balance. This amount is equivalent to the amount of permit fees collected during the prior year for the use of Swayze Parkway. Estimated tax impact none, no amount to be raised by taxation. Majority vote is required. This is recommended by the Select Board. Is there 4-0? Is there a Select Board member who would like to address this?
Again, we'll defer to the town manager.
Town manager?
So we established this fund via town meeting, I think it was 3 years ago. And what happens is we collect permit fees over the course of the year for the use of the parkway. And then the fiscal year closes out as of December 31st. And this amount that is collected in permit fees falls to our fund balance. So we are moving to raise and appropriate the amount of money from the prior year permit fees into the Swayze Parkway Trust Fund to be spent for parkway purposes.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Seeing none and no amendments, this article will appear on the ballot as printed. Article 30, Town Hall Revolving Fund and Funding. To see if the town will vote to establish a revolving fund pursuant to RSA 31:95-H for the purpose of making capital improvements to, equipping and maintaining the town hall building. All revenues received from the rental of space in the town hall will be deposited into the fund, and the money in the fund shall be allowed to accumulate year to year and shall not be considered part of the town's general fund balance. The town treasurer shall have custody of all monies in the fund and shall pay out the same only upon order of the governing body, and no further approval is required by the legislative body to expend. Such funds may be expended only for the purpose for which the fund was created. Further, to raise and appropriate the sum of $5,000 to be placed in the revolving fund as an initial balance. This sum to come from the unassigned fund balance. Estimated tax impact, none. No amount to be raised by taxation. Majority vote required, recommended by the Select Board 4-0. Is there a Select Board member who'd like to address this?
Sure, thank you, Madam Moderator. This is similar to the rec revolving fund, the fire and EMS, and the Exeter TV, respectively. Back in the fall of 2020, the Select Board implemented an Arts and Culture Commission, and one of their objectives has been looking at Town Hall and what renovations may be needed. Most recently, they conducted a town-wide survey and reported back to the Select Board with what folks in town are looking for through renovating the town hall. So this would be, again, a revolving fund and a mechanism to look towards making and paying for those renovations.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from anyone? Seeing none, this article will appear as printed on the ballot. The next article is Article 31, Arts and Culture Commission. To see if the town will appoint the Arts and Culture Commission as agents to expend from the Exeter Arts Program Donation Trust Fund created by vote of the 2009 town meeting in place of the Exeter Arts Committee, which no longer exists. Majority vote required, recommended by the Select Board 4-0. Is there a Select Board member who would like to address this?
Sure. As the warrant article said, there was a fund established in 2009, and since that time, the Arts Committee has dissolved. And again, recently, in the fall of 2020, the Select Board implemented the new Arts and Cultural Commission. This article would transfer authority of the Donations Fund over to that commission for administrative purposes and would allow the Arts and Culture Commission to add as agents and spend proceeds from the fund.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions? Seeing none, this article will appear as printed on the ballot. The next article, Article 32, I believe has a PowerPoint presentation. I wanted to give a heads up. Do we have that presentation sort of teed up? This is Article 32, Community Power Aggregation. To see if the town will vote to adopt the Exeter Electric Aggregation Plan voted upon by the Exeter Community Power Aggregation Committee on December 29, 2021, which authorizes the Select Board to implement a community power aggregation program as described therein. Community power aggregation programs pursuant to state statute RSA 53-E allowing municipalities to purchase electric energy supply on behalf of their residents and businesses with the goal of allowing for more local control of energy sources, lowering relative costs, expanding access to renewable energy sources, and supporting the development of innovative energy projects. Majority vote required, recommended by the Select Board 4-0. Is there a member of the Select Board who would like to introduce this? Ms. Gilman.
I'm going to very briefly give this in broad strokes, and then our representatives, Cliff Sennett, can answer any more questions. This tool is meant to save residential and commercial costs on the electric energy cost townwide. Right now, energy costs are set by Unitil twice a year as your default provider, and you have no control over what that cents per kilowatt hour. And if you've all seen your latest bill, it's been quite a jump. Another aspect of this program will to provide people with the choice of the amount of renewable energy sources used in your purchase, such as I would like my energy supplied through 50% renewable resources, helping us more sustain through choice, or be more sustainable through choice. The program operates as an all-inclusive system, meaning all-inclusive of the municipality, but there is a function to opt out, and you will be noticed before the program goes through, before it starts, and you can also opt out of it at any time. The billing service will be provided through Unitil as usual, and service will be provided for them, and your electric grids will be maintained by them. We belong to the Community Power Coalition of New Hampshire, and they will be providing the bargaining services for energy choice at or below the price that Unitil is currently providing. And they will also provide the customer support, service questions, more clarity to what's going on in the industry, and no town personnel will have added duties. Cliff, or if there are questions, you can ask Cliff.
Mr. Sinnott, is that you approaching the mic?
That is me.
Thank you.
Cliff Sinnott, 84 Park Street. And there are some slides that I don't know if they're accessible at this point.
We just put a shout out to the technological personnel that are here, so we're sort of waiting.
Okay, well, I can just proceed, and if we get access to them, we'll put them up, if that's okay. And thank you, Selectman Gilman. I think you did a good summary of some of the key aspects. I wanted to provide a little bit more background about this, some more details. It came out of an initiative of the Energy Committee. Over a year ago, they started looking into this potential for the town, and the Select Board back in May established something required under the law for this, which is an electric aggregation committee. Was responsible for developing the aggregation plan, that copies of which are back on the wall back there. If the article is passed at town meeting, it authorizes the selectmen to proceed to implement the program on behalf of the town and in accordance to that plan. So what is community power? Well, as it's already been stated, it's a process by which the towns and cities in New Hampshire can purchase electric power for the customers in their community and distribute it through the existing utility, Unitil. There's been a considerable increase in interest in this over the past year and a half because the legislature in 2019 amended a law that's been around since the mid-90s that has made it more practical to do this. That law was the electric deregulation law, which separated power generation from power distribution. So utilities are responsible for distribution, and they simply pass through whatever power they're able to purchase at whatever rates that is. To help understand this, when you get home today, take a look at your latest utility bill from Unitil, and you'll see it sort of divided between two parts. One has to do with the utilities function of distributing and maintaining the system, and that's called the electric service part of the bill. And then there's a second part below that called electric supplier, and that's the energy that Unitil purchases as the default supplier and passes through to us to pay for it. You can think of this like it's a buying cooperative. There are hopefully many municipalities in New Hampshire that will join together through that coalition, aggregate their demand, and use that large amount of demand to achieve better purchase rates when we go out to bid for electricity. Our main goals, at least as far as the Energy Committee and the Aggregation Committee, are to do really three things. One is to hopefully get more competitive rates, more stable rates, and also to be able to add additional types of power options, such as having a greater percentage of renewable energy in the content. Some things to know about this. This is not new. As I said, it was first enabled in the 90s, and since then, people have been allowed to purchase power on their own if they wanted to, and I'm sure you've gotten flyers in the mail in the past offering as customers in town to purchase energy from various companies. And very few residential customers have ever taken advantage of that. About 8% of Unitil's residential customers do today. About 25% of commercial customers do, and almost 3/4 of the large industrial users do, because they know that they can get better rates by negotiating it on their own. And the town of Exeter itself has taken advantage of this for at least 10 years and has aggregated its town energy demand and has purchased it through a broker, and currently has achieved a rate that's about half of what the current default rate is. So how will this work? And this is what's defined in that plan. First of all, if town meeting approves this, the select board would be authorized to proceed with implementing the program. They would have decision-making power about when and how to implement it. The town would contract for services. We don't expect to become experts in energy brokerage or anything of the sort. This would be handled by either the coalition, the Community Power Coalition of New Hampshire, which we're a member of, or we could choose to go out to bid and hire a consultant, service consultant for this purpose. Exeter Community Power would become the default electricity supplier, but customers would have the option to opt out if they don't want to be part of it, and would be notified ahead of time about that and how to do it. We would offer optional renewable energy rate tiers for people who are interested in that to improve, to decrease our energy footprint, improve renewable energy content. It would operate on a competitive basis, which is to say that the power supply, people would be able to switch back if they don't like what they're getting through Exeter Community Power back to the Unitil default service with no penalty. It would be self-funded. It's funded out of the customers who purchase the energy supply, not through taxpayers. And we also recommend in the plan that if that negotiated rate is not equal or better, lower than the Unitil default rate at the time, that it not proceed. And really that's about it. If there are any questions, be happy to answer them.
Thank you.
There are many resources, by the way, that there's we have a website off the town's website that has copies of the plan, a lot of PowerPoint presentations about how it works, a Q&A, and other ways that you can get more information.
Thank you. I see some people lined up, so if you wouldn't mind taking a seat sort of close to the mic in case we need to bring you back for some answers. Yes.
Hello, Renee Allen, 185 High Street. I am currently serving as chair of the Energy Committee, and I'd just like to say that we wholeheartedly recommend this article warrant. We've been working on this for 2 or 3 years now. It's been a long haul, and it will be a very good thing as far as driving clean energy projects and sustainability of the town. So I'd just like to put that out there. And thank you to Cliff and Lou, members of the Energy Committee who have been working on this aggregation committee for the past year. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I'm Cheryl Nixon. I live at 17 Thornton Street, and I'm here to speak in support of warrant Article 32. The Community Power Plan is an exciting opportunity for town residents, giving us the opportunity to increase our renewable energy consumption, reduce our electric energy created by fossil fuels, and save money. New Hampshire is suffering from a lack of leadership on climate change issues at the state level. Our state is lagging all other New England states in our impact in reducing our impact in the climate crisis. It's therefore imperative that action and leadership come from the local level. The Community Power Plan gives Exeter the ability to act now and increase our renewable energy usage. One of the clear benefits of aggregating our electric energy purchases as a town is local control of electricity costs. Having advantageous prices locked in for several years by a community power plan would avoid the current roller coaster electricity rate changes many residents see twice a year. Leveraging the total electric usage of town residents will give the ability to negotiate better rates and give residents choices in this percentage of renewable energy in their supply. I see no downside at all to this program, but should someone not want to take part, that choice is available as well. There's also an equity opportunity for our town. Currently, homeowners can choose a higher level of renewable energy in their electric supply, or they can install solar power in their home if it's appropriate. But these choices come at a financial cost. This added cost is not accessible to all homeowners in our town. The Community Power Plan will give all Exeter residents, all Exeter homeowners, the opportunity to use more renewable energy and less energy generated by fossil fuels at the same or a lower rate than they are currently paying. These are the reasons why I will vote yes on warrant Article 32, and I would encourage all the other voters to vote yes as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? I think you are released, Mr. Sinnott. Thank you. Seeing no changes, this article will appear on the ballot as printed. We're making progress. We're on Article 33, Swayze Parkway. Subject to the town obtaining approval from both the Rockingham County Probate Court and New Hampshire Division of Charitable Trusts to see if the town will vote to close and discontinue Swayze Parkway as a public roadway from Water Street to the Pavilion, which will allow traffic to enter from Newfields Road to park and turn around. This action, if approved by the voters, will be conditioned on the following. A, retaining a paved surface in the discontinued portion for the use of pedestrians, non-motorized vehicles, maintenance vehicles, and emergency vehicles. B, the northerly portion of the roadway shall remain a Class 5 highway. Majority vote required, recommended by the Select Board 4-0. Is there a member of the Select Board that would like to? Yes, this is Molly Malikowan. Thank you.
Closing Swayze Parkway to traffic has been a topic of discussion for years. When we first had Swayze Parkway, it was a gift from Ambrose Swayze to the trust to the town, and that was back in the time where pleasure vehicles certainly were not what they are now. And this trust was subject to certain conditions. One of them is to maintain a parkway for pleasure vehicles. At the beginning of the pandemic, the Select Board voted to close the vehicle to vehicles, allowing for socially distanced outside recreation for citizens. And following that closure, we heard from many, many residents, people using the parkway with their children for bike riding. And it was a really, really great thing. People seemed to love it. We had yoga there, we have festivals there. However, when the emergency order was lifted, we were faced with a conundrum of what do we do with this decision that we made to allow recreation and closure to vehicles. And what did we do? Because we did not have the authority to keep the parkway closed. So in recognizing that safety measures were going to be needed because people had been used to being in the parkway with unrestricted, we were going to have to do something. So we opted to make it one way with the thought that we were going to put something on the warrant article to see what we should do. And then we started having a lot of people come to us saying, you know what, if you close the whole parkway to traffic, that removes access for some people. And so I thought long and hard about what kind of reasonable compromise we could come to. And so this was my compromise. We are closing, or we proposed to close roughly half of the parkway to vehicles. There's still half the parkway that would be open past the pavilion. There are roughly 12 benches in the portion of the parkway that would not be closed. So there's ample access for accessibility for people who might struggle to walk the whole length of the parkway to get to a bench. And truly, one could debate whether the closure of the portion of the parkway as proposed in the warrant article is even contrary to terms of the trust at all, since we're still allowing vehicles on part of the parkway. And as you all know, the select board, in according to terms of the trust, we have had the authority to dissolve the trust since 1979, but we have chosen not to go that route. We are operating with the assumption that if this does pass, we are taking the temperature of our voters in our town. We are operating on the assumption that some people would allege that we would violate the terms of the trust, which is why the next steps going to the Rockingham County Probate Court is in the article. We also note that we will need to consult with the New Hampshire Division of Charitable Trusts because they will be party to any discussion that happens with the court. They have indicated they are likely to follow the will of the voters, which I hope is to approve this reasonable compromise. I have moved as a select board member from wanting to close the parkway entirely to wanting to keep it open for some sort of accessible measures, which I think is very clearly captured in this warrant article. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I see a number of people lined up at the podium. Come on down to the mic. Sorry, the walkway.
So I'm going to wear a different hat. So I'm Darius Thompson. I'm a trustee of the Seiu Parkway. I am also a resident of Exeter, New Hampshire, so I'm wearing my trustee hat now. I just want to let everyone know that we did meet with the select board, and we let the select board know at those various meetings when the trustees were there that we were not in favor of closing the parkway. As a trustee, I also noted that the language in the first or second paragraph of the trust was the land that was donated to the town as part of the trust was for use of the park. And it does include language for a pleasure vehicle, but that road, that land is for use of the park. I pointed that out. I also suggested that we do some more homework on this because we do not know the results of what the probate court will say or the charitable trust will say, whether this could actually be done. And also closing the Class 5 road is another item. While this warrant article looks at closing part of the parkway, I think that it will create an impediment from an ADA standpoint of now if you have to use a vehicle to access the park, you have to go all the way down Newfields Road and make a very sharp right-hand turn to come in if that's the entrance that's being used. So those are things for consideration as everyone looks forward to voting on this article. But I just wanted to state as a trustee, and then speaking for the other trustees, that we were not in favor of closing the road. We have a siphon project that's coming up that's going to close the road anyway. And I think it would be a good opportunity, as we suggested, to try to look at different alternatives while you also do the homework, not just speak to council, but actually go to the charitable trust, talk to the probate, and find out what are the options before coming to the town, getting everybody psyched up about closing something, and then coming to find out you will not be able to do that. That is what we communicated in our last meeting together with the select board. If you have any questions about what I said, you can go back and look at the minutes and review the meeting. If there's any questions I can ask or answer as a trustee, I'll be more than happy to do so.
Thank you.
Hello again. Fred Bird, 84 Kingston Road. I prefer it stay a one-way. Now that I'm retired and a senior citizen, I've been using it for years, and I don't want to have to park all the way down Water Street somewhere and carry my lawn chair all the way up. I mean, there's a lot of other senior citizens who probably can't make the walk, so I just put that in. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jerry Hamill, 17 Little Pine Lane. If you actually could read the trust, it was set up as a parkway. You look in the dictionary of parkway, and a parkway is a landscaped highway. When the gift was given to us, it was set up with a purpose in mind for cars to travel through it and money given to maintain this. Now, a lot of people haven't read the trust, so you don't look at it that way. But when Mr. Swayze gave us this gift, he made this as a parkway, not to be closed down. It's not an interpretation. It's spelled out right in the trust that he actually gave us. What I'm looking at is, if we were to close this down, basically what we're doing, we're taking a gift that was given to the town and saying, well, yeah, we're happy with the gift, but we want more. And quite honestly, I was a trustee with the Parkway for 9 years, and we found there's a balance that you always have to maintain. And that balance comes with giving everybody a little something. It's not overusing the park for events. It's not underusing it, not letting people in. You have to have a balance so that people can constantly use the park as it was. And one of those things is being able to drive through it. I find it very ironic that the plan that they're giving now, we actually as trustees proposed that about 4 or 5 years ago. We actually gave the same plan, and basically we gave it to the select body so we could actually close it when needed. And they totally rejected the whole plan. So I find them very odd now that everyone's on board with doing it on a permanent basis. I just look at when a gift is given to us, we should look at the gift as in the nature of how it's given to us. I mean, what are we going to do next? Want everything in Henderson Conservation Area paved and bathrooms and lighted? Use it as a gift and be thankful that we got it. As far as one of the things that the Selectman just mentioned, can the select body take over the trust of the Parkway? Yes, they can. But the investment vehicle that's been there over the course of time, it would be advantageous not to do it. I know since I've left as being a trustee, the fund has gone up almost $100,000. We in the town don't have that opportunity to invest that money that way. So I'd like to see it stay as it is, and I urge the people of this town that are longtime residents to vote no on this, because it's not in what was given to us. It's completely, it's just not, it's not right. So just vote no on this. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to ask folks to hold applause, and also if folks would please try to keep their comments to 3 minutes each. It's getting late. Thank you.
Good morning, Jay Childs, 7 Hunter Place in Exeter. I guess what I'm trying to understand, I echo a lot of what Jerry has to say, just to add my voice, but what the compelling need is. I've lived here a long time. I don't know that there's necessarily a traffic issue on that road. I do have concerns, even with the access way that's being proposed, that people who can drive but can't walk very well, I don't see why there's no reason why they shouldn't be able to drive right up towards the little portico there and sit on a bench and enjoy the parkway. So I don't know that there's a compelling traffic problem, or I would like to better understand what we feel is the need to do this. It is closed off for certain events, which I think is appropriate when we do have certain events there. And I just have a sense, in addition to what Jerry said about the trustees, that it feels like a step to close half of it off. And then at some point we'll be like, well, let's just close the whole thing off. And then at some point it'll be, well, this is this great unused piece of property. Shouldn't we be doing something more with it? And I think it's intended to just be exactly what it is. And then one final thing would be, if this fails, which I hope it does, I think we should keep it the way it is. You could, for traffic's sake, initiate posting. I know it's posted as being one way, but also post that it's not to be used as a cut through. And I understand that some people tend to use it as a cut through when you should really just go around Water Street to Newfields Road. So I just want to add my voice that I don't support this idea, and I would like to understand it. I guess it's a question. What is the compelling need to close it off, at least in some fashion? If I could get an answer to that. Thank you.
If folks could exit not up the ramp, but out into the group, so we are more socially distanced. Thank you very much. Yes.
Ann Sermon, 14 Cullen Way. I want to just briefly read what Ambrose Swayze said in the opening paragraph, because we've all kind of walked around it, but I'd like to just say what he said. I, Ambrose Swayze of Cleveland, Ohio, have offered to the Selectmen of Exeter, New Hampshire, financial assistance toward defraying the expense of acquiring a right-of-way and of constructing a parkway along the riverfront at Exeter, New Hampshire, to be used solely for park purposes, and this roadway therein open only to pleasure vehicles, and I desire to make provision for the furnishing of such assistance and to make further provision for an endowment fund, the income from which shall be used for the care, maintenance, and improvement of said parkway. Ambrose Swayze set up the parkway with an endowment that has grown over the years. He did not simply purchase the land, hand it over to the town, and leave it to us to do what we will with it. Granted, Mr. Swayze did not specify whether or not the road should be one way or not. I actually think the one way is a very nice compromise for all that's gone on here, and I really want to be on the record with that. The discussion has focused in the last few months at the meetings that the Select Board has held, individuals and how they felt about the place, and it's all very well and good that they had a good time down there. But at the end of the day, the trust is what governs that, and as Mr. Hamill mentioned, it was a gift that was given. So I'm very disappointed that the Select Board has felt compelled to put a poorly drafted warrant article on the ballot in spite of the trustees being very clear in their majority position to keep it open. Despite what may seem like discussions that have been going on for a long time, in fact, this warrant article has not received solid vetting through much-needed public hearings and publicity. As you know, the New Hampshire Charitable Trusts will take a position on this, as will the New Hampshire Probate Court. No details of how that could play out was ever discussed in any of the meetings. It is far too simplistic for town leadership to say that we need to leave it to the will of the people to decide. In fact, we elect select board members for them to do their homework and inform the public of all the possible outcomes. This select board rushed this article through in fear of a potential non-binding citizens petition. I can't think of a worse reason to slap together a warrant article simply in fear of what the people may want to vote on. I don't feel that the voters will be getting a full picture of what the consequences will be if this warrant article passes. It is far more than taking a temperature. Once voted, the town will be committed to following whatever final language is on that warrant article. There could be court costs involved that have yet to be disclosed or even discussed. This will have to go to New Hampshire Charitable Trust and probate, and a judge will have to decide, and there may be actual court costs. So my concerns as well is this vote, just voting on this doesn't get you what you want, and there are even hidden costs that were not disclosed. So my only point in this is there just has been a rush to do this. There isn't enough information, and before anybody votes on this, they really need to have all the information. I'll be voting no. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Hi, Jason Murray, 82 High Street. I know, people are worried that this is some sort of, betrayal of what the trust intended or something. I mean, we've never been in a pandemic before. The last couple of years, the emergency change to close it off I think showed a lot of people, and myself included, I have young kids, that the parkway is very useful as a closed-off area for recreation. The sidewalks aren't wide enough for young kids to ride bikes in both directions, and I doubt the parkway, I mean, I've lived in Exeter about 5 years, I doubt it's ever been used as much and provided as much enjoyment as when it was closed off. So I do support this as is. If there is some other compromise that could be made, I would hope that we could close it off one day a weekend or something like that completely. I would hate to see it just one way or, God forbid, open two-way, because what's the benefit of having cars drive down that road other than to provide accessibility to people who can't walk there themselves? So I support this. I'm going to vote yes on this if it appears as written, but I would hope that there could be some other compromise if it does not pass, or if it could be changed somehow to provide some greater number of days per month or whatever that it could be closed down for full use of the roadway for pedestrians. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Laura Bricker, Newfields Road. I also used to be a Swayze Parkway trustee. So during the COVID times, I have walked the parkway sometimes 7 days a week. I appreciated the new one-way loop that was out there. That was a great way. Like the last speaker said, I have never seen more people down on Swayze Parkway in all the years I've lived here. I mean, everyone goes down to see the Eagle. And since we've gone to one-way, people are still using the loop like they did during the high COVID times. So a lot of times it's a safety issue. As I'm coming through, and I confess I'm one of those people who uses this as a cut-through, people are in the middle of the road, even though it's a one-way road at this point. I think this is a really good compromise, and I think that going to the probate court and going to charitable trust, we're going to find out if, what is involved with doing this, but I think this allows people to still drive down there, and this allows people on the other end to have a safe way to get around. There are so many kids out. I don't know if you've driven by Lincoln Street School recently, but there are more bikes and kids on bikes in this town than I think in the history of this town, and a lot of them are going down there, and I just feel like, we can't please everybody, but I think this is a really good compromise and a really good starting point, and it does feel like there are a lot of people using the parkway in a different way now because we made it accessible in a different way during COVID, so I'm supporting this article.
Thank you. Hold your applause, please. Next.
Hi, everyone. Maura Fay, 13 Forest Street. I'm also in support of this article. I want to echo the comments earlier by Laura, as well as the previous speaker, who note the changes in how this was used during the pandemic. I think it's also really important to acknowledge the historical changes that we've seen in the almost 100 years since the establishment of Swayze Parkway, and the idea that every person's personal vehicle can be considered a pleasure vehicle, I think is inaccurate to the way that we currently use automobiles. And so I agree that access needs to be maintained for disability purposes. I think that it is very important that people still be able to come and enjoy the park if they're not able to physically walk through the park. But I also think that it's important to acknowledge that the way people use the park today has changed quite a bit. It needs to be accessible to families who have kids who want to ride bikes, for folks who are older and want to enjoy their walks through the park, and not have to worry about vehicle traffic and the safety issues that come with that. So I will be supporting this article. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning again, Don Clement, 5 Thelma Drive. On the face of it, I am opposed to any action that restricts or prohibits vehicles from the parkway. As we've heard before from previous speakers, Ambrose Swayze, donated this park in 1931. And I wish the town elders, Joe and Arthur Belageron, were here today, because they were probably there live in 1931 when the park was opened up and dedicated. But since that time, 1931, pedestrians, vehicles, and bicycles have all enjoyed and used the park and shared the park. So, as spoken by Selectwoman Cowan, many people now believe that the park should be closed down to traffic because they believe that the safety is impaired by vehicle traffic. And what we haven't looked at is that there are many, many methods of traffic calming measures that can be applied. There can be chokes, points, there can be speed tables, there can be bump outs, on-street parking are all ways to seriously and significantly reduce the traffic and the traffic speed. But we haven't even attempted to do these. We're moving right forward to this warrant article. But on the other hand, in order to be practical, in order to be realistic, I'm all right with the proposal and the intent of the proposal as put forth by the select board. Because the compromise does give people with mobility issues or disabilities the ability to drive into the park and enjoy the park. And it also provides an area that is traffic-free. Madam Moderator, I have an amendment to this article I'd like to issue.
Yes, bring it over to the clerk, please. Thank you.
I have a better copy.
That's okay. A preliminary question, are you planning to swap out the existing text with new text?
This is my amendment. My amendment is this text.
And are you getting rid of the existing article?
That's what an amendment does, yes.
You can do small changes within the text of an article.
This particular amendment completely swaps out the amendment.
Thank you.
The warrant article is proposed.
Thank you. Would you like to read?
Oh, you want me to read? Okay, fine. Subject to the town obtaining approval from both the Rockingham County Probate Court and the Hampshire Division of Charitable Trust to see if the town will vote to close the portion of Swayze Parkway as a public roadway from where the corners of Tax Map 64 Lot 40 and Tax Map 64 Lot 39 intersect with the Swayze Parkway, Tax Map 64 Lot 45, north to the Newfields Road entrance, while allowing motorized traffic to enter from Water Street to park and turn around. This action, if approved by the voters, will be conditioned on the following. A, retaining and maintaining the paved surface in the closed portion for the use of pedestrians, non-motorized vehicles, maintenance vehicles, and emergency vehicles. And B, the southerly portion of the roadway shall remain a Class 5 highway. What I've really done is I've moved around where the parking takes place as opposed to the warrant article as proposed. And why I've done that is if you look at the parkway itself, the northerly end where the Newfields Road is subject to flooding, more so now than it's ever been, and probably will continue to be that way. Two, even though there are park benches down there, the side closer to downtown Water Street is a wider green area with more shade trees. And I think shade trees, for someone who wants to go and sit out there, shade is very important as opposed to sitting out there exposed completely to the sunlight. Three, which I think is an important issue, is the way to get into the parkway on the proposed warrant article would mean if you're coming from town, you would have to drive down, make a 180 turn into the parkway. And if you were leaving, you'd have to make a 180 turn left to go back into town. Not a very safe turn to do at that point. If the in and out is at the Water Street, you've got a typical left and right on a 90-degree turns. So I think this keeps to the spirit of the article. It just changes where the non-vehicular part is from the other. And by the way, the lot lines, if everyone is familiar with the Exeter Housing Authority, 277 Water Street, it's their property line. It has to be a butter. So what I've done, what this amendment does, by the way, It also gives a greater portion of the parkway over to non-motorized vehicle use than the first article. So that's my amendment.
Okay, so we have on the floor an amendment. So does anyone have any comments or questions on the amendment? And once we have resolved the question of the amendment, we will go back to talking about the article if it remains unchanged.
I think you need a second.
I do need a second. Thank you, Mr. Clement. Is there anyone who would like to second this? And your name? Ann Sermon? Yes, thank you. Okay, is there anyone who would like to speak to the amendment by Mr. Clements? It looks like there's someone coming down with an arm raised. Oh, I see, sir, in the white shirt. You are to speak on the amendment?
I'd like to speak to both, but I think it covers the amendment.
All right, let's focus on the amendment.
Focusing on the amendment, then.
Thank you. Your name, sir?
Paul Royal, 3 Pumpkin Circle, Exeter, New Hampshire.
Thank you.
Some time ago, there was a citizen's petition that passed with a pretty high majority, and it was rejected by the selectmen. If I am incorrect, please correct me, but if there is an article which does not involve a dollar amount, the select board is not necessarily bound by a majority vote. Is that correct?
I'm sorry. The meeting passes articles that are then the decision of the Town of Exeter.
What I'm getting at is I want people to understand what this amendment, whether it's the proposed change or as it exists, if the select board is bound by a majority vote.
I am going to defer to counsel on that. I believe that the action of the meeting is binding on the select board, but Attorney Mitchell, could you confirm?
Well, the answer to that question depends on the content of the particular article that you're discussing. And yes, there have been articles that have been amended or not amended before that were petitioned on that were not binding on the selectmen. This one, as to whether the road is closed down, discontinued, would be binding. The only thing that I'm a little concerned about now, if I could comment on it, is that Mr. Clemens changed the wording in the article from discontinued, which is a term of art, as to whether it's still a public road, to closed. And I would be, I don't have any stake in whether you close this at all or you do the northern part or the southern part, but I would, whatever you do, I'd like it to be perfectly clear and legal, and that would be accomplished by changing the word, Mr. Clemens' word of closed to discontinued.
Yes. Did that answer your question, Mr.
I think
Royal?
so I'm going to try to wrap this up quickly. The town regularly has 3 hearings when they make an ordinance or a change to an ordinance. This is a complicated issue for a lot of members of town, and I've got to agree that there are probably a lot of people in town that haven't really thought out the consequences of these changes over the long term. And I'm going to say if this amendment passes, whether it is the amended article or the article as it stands, if the select board is not absolutely bound by a majority vote, this would be a time where the select board could take the opportunity to conduct some public hearings to give all the townspeople, or all the townspeople that feel they have a vested interest, to listen to, make arguments, and make a longer consideration of these possible changes. To pass it would be to untie the hands of the select board to perform these investigations and then go ahead and make a decision. To not pass it pretty much ends the argument. So I would vote in favor of it. if the select board was willing to have further discussion of it and have it possibly not be binding exactly as written. This is why I asked the question. Thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak to the amendment? Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Alexis Simpson, 20 Main Street. I'm a state representative, and I also walk the Parkway almost every day. I want to speak to the article, but also the amendment, so I'll just speak to the amendment first.
Thank you.
My concern about the amendment is that I don't think it will provide enough clarity to the voter when they're voting on in March. So I don't know if if I'm asking for a rewrite of the amendment, or if I'm asking you telling you that I don't support the amendment. I think that. Do you want me to hold now on my?
So we can't have a rewrite of this amendment. We'll have discussion and then vote up or down on the amendment. And then if there is further discussion on the article, there could be another amendment proposed.
Okay, perfect. Then right now I am saying I will vote against this amendment because I don't think it will be clear to the voters.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments with regard to the amendment? Hearing none, we will now vote on the amendment. Is everyone clear in terms of what the amendment says, or would you like it to be read once more?
Please read it once more.
Okay. Subject to the town obtaining approval from both the Rockingham County Probate Court and New Hampshire Division of Charitable Trust, to see if the town will vote to close the portion of Seiu Parkway as a public roadway from where the corners of tax map 64, lot 40, and tax map 64, lot 39 intersect with Seiu Parkway, tax map 64, lot 45, north to the Newfields Road entrance, while allowing motorized traffic to enter from Water Street to park and turn around. This action, if authorized by the voters, will be conditioned on the following: A, retaining and maintaining the paved surface in the closed portion for the use of pedestrians, non-motorized vehicles, maintenance vehicles, and emergency vehicles. And B, the southerly portion of the roadway shall remain a Class 5 highway. So all in favor of this amendment as written, please raise your voter cards, and we're going to have to count. So. I'm going to need counts from the other venues as well. We're going to keep them up. We're going to count one more time. Two votes. Thank you, from outside. Is there anyone in the small gym?
No.
Good to know. Okay. So we have 13, 2 outside, 11 inside in favor. All opposed, please raise the cards. That looks like more than 13. Outside, what is your tally for against the motion?
Outside has 2 votes against the motion.
Thank you. It's a lot more. It's more than 13. It looks like about 33. Okay, so the motion does not pass. Are there other folks who wish to speak to the article as originally presented, or who wish to offer a further amendment?
Sally Ward, 72 Park Street. I'm conflicted about this, but I think my bottom line is I'm in favor of the original motion, the original warrant, and I had a question first and then a comment. So my question is, there's been some discussion against it, which has suggested that it's backwards, that we are having a vote and then we're getting approval. But I think from the court and the Division of Charitable Trusts, but my understanding is the way that the warrant is written is the first step is to get those approvals, and then if the town votes in favor of this, then the parkway would be adjusted as outlined. Is that correct?
Can someone on the board address that? Or does...
Yes, on the advice of, Attorney Mitchell can speak to this too, but when the board spoke with Council Attorney Mitchell, when Selectwoman Cowan was crafting the language of this, the Select Board was informed that indeed it has to go to town meeting first before we can bring it to probate court. So it has to go before the voters before it can be presented to probate court.
But before any action happens, we would go to that next step. That's the way it's written. So it's written in the right order.
That is correct.
Okay, so that clarifies that for me. And I have a couple of comments. One, I know that this has been a topic of conversation for quite some time, so I don't really think this is a rush to judgment. I think it has been discussed and debated at select board meetings and on the town websites and so on and so forth. So I think it has been well thought out. That doesn't necessarily mean everyone agrees with it, but I think it has been debated. And my comments in terms of my personal perspective is I do use the parkway. I walk on the parkway every morning. And my comment about the traffic, some people have raised the question, well, what's the problem with traffic? And the problem is, number one, people do use it as a cut-through. Number two, many people who use it as a cut-through speed. And I don't know what the posted speed limit is. I'm assuming it's 25, but traffic going through Seiu Parkway is not going 25 miles per hour, and it's dangerous. And number three, in terms of the comment that's been made about the original trust, I think an important thing to consider is what is meant by a recreational vehicle. And I don't think that the cars that are using Seiu Parkway as a cut-through are recreational vehicles. And so this proposal is a way to deal with that traffic problem. Is it perfect? It's probably not perfect, but it's a way to deal with the problem. And as I say, I'm conflicted about it, but I think this is a good compromise and I would support it.
Thank you. Is there someone else who'd like to speak? Hi, thank you.
Alexis Simpson, 20 Main Street. The previous speaker said some of what I was going to say, so I'll be brief, but I just wanted to respond to a speaker earlier who was saying that they don't see a compelling reason to have part of the parkway closed. And I just want to say that as I do walk almost every day, people stop me and they tell me, this is great, can you tell me how do we make it permanent? And those people are sometimes parents of young children who are riding bikes in the street, or this was during the pandemic, they were riding bikes during the street, obviously not now. And also older people who enjoy seeing younger people doing that. And so I think there are compelling reasons, both the community building nature of having a wider space where people can engage, and this, in my opinion, this article would be a compromise between those who need accessibility via car and those who would like accessibility with their bikes. my other point that I did want to say is I would think that the court and the Division of Charitable Trusts would talk about the issues of what a pleasure vehicle is, because in my mind, a bike is a pleasure vehicle, and so I don't know, obviously in 1931 that was the intention, but they do this all the time. They talk about what was the intention of the donor and what how might it still be in their interest that we do with that money what needs to be done in a modern era, but still maintain faithfulness to the original intent of the donor, I believe.
Thank you. Anyone else with a comment or a question on the article as originally proposed? Seeing none, that article will appear on the ballot without amendment. And we are now getting close to the end. Article 44 is a citizen's petition by petition of Andrew Elliott and others, Washington Street improvements. Shall the town vote to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $260,000 for the design and construction of road improvements, sidewalks, tree work, and traffic calming, on Washington Street. This sum to come from general taxation, estimated impact .046 per thousand, or $4.55 per 100,000 of assessed property value. Could the funds also come from, quote, town's unassigned fund, close quote, or, quote, in bonds or notes in accordance with provisions of the Municipal Finance Act, RSA 33, close quote. Majority vote needed. This is not recommended by the Select Board. I will have Mr. Elliott, who was the petitioner, speak first to this article.
Great. So Andrew Elliott, I live on Washington Street, and me and my neighbors have put together this petition. Going after Swayze Parkway and the last one, so thank you for those who are still here or watching this online. So for those of you who do not know where Washington Street is, it is the cut through between Brentwood Road and Front Street. Everybody uses it. I mean, I'd probably do a show of hands right now, but I think it's without a doubt that if you live in Exeter, you're on my road. It's between 111 and 111A. So with no disrespect to Article 26 and the pedestrian planning, we do have a sidewalk plan, management plan that was conducted in 2014, and Washington Street had already been identified as needing improvement at that time in the tune of $130,000, 2014. I've been on the street since 2012. The traffic is incredible. I get about 2,500 cars per day on my road, so I've been talking now for about a minute. That's two people I would have seen outside of my window in just that minute, every hour, every minute of the day. All right, so it's very busy. And it's time that we get some sidewalks all the way on the street, because there's plenty of kids, cars are getting quieter, and it's just, this is the only way I could think to get it done in a reasonable time frame. I have talked to many of you, Department of Public Works, the police, all of you as well, and I think this is the best approach. So I'm not sure why the Select Board is not recommending it, so I may ask them that, but in the meantime, I do have a slight amendment to make, just because the way it's written was a little strange.
Can you bring that amendment down here to the clerk, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
So it's not really all that different. It's just removing the second paragraph there, that the funds come from town unassigned fund. That's not a thing, and I'm not going to try to do a bond for this project. I want it to just come through our general taxation, and there's a different tax impact on the project listed in the fact sheet, and I'm asking to basically accept what the town has told me it's going to cost. And then I'd like to update the description in the fact sheet, just to represent what was done. That there was a speed survey done in June 2021. We had 9,622 cars in 4 days. That's 2,405 cars per day. The maximum speed on that straight road between two highways was 49 miles an hour, and the 50th percentile was 24 miles an hour, which means that there are over 1,200 cars going more than 24 miles an hour every day. All right? My kids are on the street. There's a lot of kids on the street. It's very densely populated, and I'm just asking for sidewalks at this point. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Just consulting with council with regard to the proposed amendment. So essentially what this would do is to remove the estimated tax impact that was originally in this article. That is something that is calculated by the select board and then put on the ballot. So you will have a different one on there that's calculated by the select board. And then you also wish to take out the next sentence or two, could the funds come from town's unassigned funds or bonds altogether, and end with that's the end of the article, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct, yep.
But didn't you say that you now got a petition?
Yes.
Okay, so he can take that out so that the select. Correct.
Yeah, so just to be clear, you're taking out the estimated tax impact which was supplied by you, is that right?
Yes,
okay, great.
that was from previous years. Thank you.
Okay, got it. Okay. Would anyone like me to read this? Would that be helpful? It is the existing article. So to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $260,000 for the design and construction of road improvements, sidewalks, tree work, and traffic calming on Washington Street. This sum to come from general taxation. The town will supply the tax impact. Majority vote required, not recommended by the select board, 0 to 4.
That's right.
Correct. Would you like to speak to that amendment? Because what we have in front of us now is the amendment to the original article. Anything more you'd like to say?
Just that, I would like to hear from the select board if they could just explain the reasoning why they're not supporting this, and also just if this is amended as it is, or if there's another amendment that you would support, because of course I like to work with you guys. You've heard from me plenty of times, and I have tried to do everything within my power with the Department of Public Works and the police and everywhere else to get this resolved. So I would just like to hear from the select board on that. Thanks.
So just as a point of clarity, it's my understanding that if an article has been amended at the deliberative session, that the select board may vote anew on whether or not to support it. Is that correct? Okay, so they would be able to do that.
So,
is there anyone else who wishes to speak to the amendment? I see none. So now we are going to vote on the amendment. I'm sorry, I second the amendment, please. I'm sorry, who was that seconded it? Fred Bird, thank you. We're going to have a vote for all those in favor of this amendment. Okay.
From outside, we have 4 votes in favor.
Looks like 30 votes yes inside, 6 votes yes outside.
Sorry, that was 4 votes yes outside.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, 34 yes. All right, now, all those opposed to the amendment to the article, please raise your cards high. I can tell the amendment passes. It looks like there are only a couple of votes. Any against the amendment?
Outside, we have 0 votes against.
Okay. So the ayes have it. So the article has been amended. Is there anyone who wishes to speak to the article as amended? I see Herb Moyer.
Julie.
Herb Moyer, West Side Drive. I wanted to ask the selectmen if this amendment would preclude the use of the surplus to apply toward this project. I absolutely agree, and I cut through there all the time, but I try to stay 20 to 25 miles an hour, and I know there are people that do go a lot faster, and it is dangerous. So could we use the surplus as part of this amendment?
Okay.
But I'll go. Okay, because there's no one.
Not the way it's drafted.
So then it's just like the way it's present.
Madam Moderator, you want me to handle
I'm
that?
sorry, I was distracted by a tech question there.
that's
So there was a question for the board, as I understand it. And Town Manager, would you be able to respond to that?
Yes, the question was whether the surplus could be used to fund this project, and the answer is not the way that it's currently worded.
Okay. Mr. Moyer?
So I would like to, and I'll have to write it out. I haven't got anything to write it with, but
There's a pad and pens over there on the
Okay.
end of the platform.
I would amend it so that we could apply the surplus toward this project, however that needs to be written, and I'll try it.
Okay, so just to be clear, there needs to be one source of funding.
Say it again?
There would need to be just a single source of funding. It can't be alternative in the warrant article.
Sure, yeah.
Okay, so there's a pad of paper on the floor over there. There was at the end of the stage, and pens. Thank you. And while you were writing, Ms. Gilman, would you like to speak?
Yes, thank you, Madam Moderator. I am wearing my state representative hat right now. And I just wanted to tell folks who are interested in this that before the town meeting, there is a piece of legislation that has gone through the House, or partly gone through, House Bill 1024, which will reduce the speed limit that is allowed through towns. Currently, the police can only post a road at 25 miles per hour, but this bill would amend that to lower it to 10 miles per hour. It has gone through the Transportation Committee and put on our consent calendar, which means a consent calendar is the whole bunch of bills where committees have done 18 to 0, 9 to 0 votes that they don't think there'll be any argument about. So this bill was voted 18 to 0 out of the Transportation Committee and then put on the consent calendar. That consent calendar is going to be heard February 16th or 17th, which is before this town meeting, and may have an effect on the vote. So I would recommend all of you, and I mean people interested or not in this article, to go onto the newhampshire.gov website, go to the House of Representatives, and go to House Bill 24. I would recommend you contact all people on the Transportation Committee. Excuse me. You can sign that on the House. You can find that on the House website under committees, and it's a standing committee, and it's transportation. And I would recommend you contact as many of the state representatives that you can. 10 miles per hour may not cut down on the number of cars go through, but it may cut down on your feeling of safety. So I just wanted to let you know that's what's coming up at the House that may affect this article. Thank you.
So there was I'm afraid you'll have to explain this, Mr. Moyer. He handed me an amendment, but I'm not sure where it goes. But the end of the, you're not telling me what you're taking out?
No, it's not taking out anything, it's just adding this at the end.
That's already done.
May I clarify?
That would be helpful.
The intent of this body right today is clearly to get this done. Since we have a significant surplus, why add to the tax burden for the future when we already have the money available to spend on important projects like this today? That's my rationale.
So the original language before it was amended for this article said this sum to come from general taxation.
Strike that.
Did you wish your amendment to say this sum to come from unassigned fund balance?
Correct.
Okay, so that would change, just to be clear, that would change the source of the funds from taxation to essentially leftover funds in the town's budget. Okay, thank you. So we now have a second motion. Is there a second, now that we've heard it? Fred Bird, thank you. Okay, is there further discussion on this second amendment? Mr. Elliott?
Yes, can I just clarify that this would still happen because the sort of unassigned fund, if it didn't have funds for whatever reason, these all got spent, would it still be a binding thing? Or would this just not have to happen? So that's all.
I think if you specify the source of the funding, that if those funds are not available, then it would not happen. That's my understanding.
Okay, so in that case, yeah, I mean, so the other point would be if we raise this money and spend it, then it's still, if they say the excess will just get rolled over to the next year or put back into the tax assessing.
So there are a bunch of different things that happen with unspent funds.
Right.
But if you specify you want this raised by taxation, then the tax rate will be set, if it passes and the voters adopt it, the tax rate will be set to address that. If it's unassigned fund balance, it's a pretty hefty balance right now, but who's to know what it will be in the future. So that is not certain. The funding is not certain.
Yeah, no, okay, I understand, thank you.
Okay. Do I see another speaker?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. My name's Dan Chartrand. I live at 63 J.D. Hill Avenue in Exeter. Mr. Elliott, thank you for availing yourself of the right to do this. You do have the right to do this. However, it doesn't mean it's a good idea. I think it's a great idea to do this project, but I would like to see the project driven by the Department of Public Works and by this incredible select board. They voted 04 for a reason, I believe. I don't know their intent, but I believe they voted 04 for a reason, and it's because it doesn't avail itself of all the resources from the town manager to the Department of Public Works to the incredible people that serve us as volunteers on our select board. I'm going to vote no on the amendment because I don't believe in scratching plays in the dirt. Pardon me, Herb. I honor your participation always. But this is scratching plays in the dirt from the amendment to your citizens petition, and we need better planning to get the best results for the money that we put out as taxpayers. So I'm going to vote no on this amendment, I'm going to vote no on this article, and then I'm going to ask the Select Board and the Department of Public Works to put their shoulder to the wheel and get this project done correctly, because it does need to happen. Thank you, Madam Moderator.
Okay, thank you. Whew. Are there any other comments on this second amendment?
If it's appropriate, since this would enable the board to reevaluate the situation, I applaud Dan's comments. I think they make a lot of sense, but I'd love to know what the board thinks about this project as amended now.
So I think the board is probably going to need to meet as a body and discuss it. As individuals, they're welcome to make their voices known, but as a body, they will probably want to meet to discuss it. So, Ms. Cowan?
Again, you know, we have heard from...
Is your mic on? I'm not hearing you too well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry, thanks. So this was a hard one for me personally, because this is my neighborhood. Mr. Elliott is my neighbor. I like him. We see each other almost every day with our dogs. And I also like the project. You know, I think it's something that needs to happen. It is only because I think that we are not thinking it through. I know that that sidewalks are on the list, that road improvements are on the list with DPW, and I want to make sure that we do it the right way. So that's me speaking as a neighbor, as a person who lives in this neighborhood, as somebody who thinks that this project needs to happen. And it was a hard vote to vote no, because I do like the project, but I think that we need to do it the right way.
Okay, are there any further comments or questions on this second amendment? Did I hear someone call the question? I think we're about ready to vote on it anyway, so we won't vote on that. So we're going to need to vote. We have some folks outside. Are you still able to hear our meeting while you're outside? Perhaps the people outside have gone home.
Yes, we are able to hear.
Okay, very good, thank you. All right, so we now have a second motion to amend. So the first motion prevailed, so this is an additional refinement on the first amendment, and I will read it as I believe it now would read. Okay, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $260,000 for the design and construction of road improvements, sidewalk, tree work, and traffic calming on Washington Street. This sum to come from the town's unassigned fund balance. Majority vote required. Currently not recommended by the Select Board. That is the amendment as I understand it. Does that sound correct to you, Mr. Moyer?
Well, they really haven't voted on that amendment.
Correct, but we can't amend that.
I understand.
Okay, so that is the amendment that is on the floor. All those in favor of this amendment, please hold your cards up really high. Say aye if you're in favor of the amendment.
So outside, that's 2 votes in favor.
Yes. Okay, 18 inside, 2 outside, that's 20 in favor. All against the amendment?
Vote outside against.
How many?
1 against.
Thank you. Whew. Okay, that is very close. So it looks like we had 20 votes in favor of this amendment and 19 votes against. Just because it is really hard to see in the auditorium, I'd like to confirm that vote, just to be sure. So I'm going to ask folks to, I don't know if anyone in the control room can raise the lights in any way so that we get a little bit more light in the darker recesses. Yeah, particularly in the back. Why don't we stand? Oh, let's stand. That's a good idea anyway. Okay, all in favor of this amendment, kindly please stand with your card. Okay. Way up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, We had 2 outside. I don't think they need to revote. Okay. There's 1 no. Outside, just to confirm, you had 2 yes. Outside?
Yes, outside has 2 yes votes.
Thank you. Okay. All right, now all the no's, please stand up with your cards high.
Outside has 1 no vote. Outside has 1 no vote.
Thank you. I get the same.
22.
Okay, thank you very much for standing, including those who have broken feet. So I apologize for making you do that. So it looks, with the recount, 19 yes, 23 no. So this amendment does not pass. Is there further debate or further amendment to Article 34? Mr. Layton? Elliott, sorry.
Yeah, just one more quick comment. I apologize. This does not try to go around the system. I've been working with the Department of Public Works for nearly a year now with no progress. And before that, many, many times, Washington Street has petitioned things like this. This is not the first time, and it's been on the books since 2014 as a need, and it hasn't been accomplished. So this is the only way I can see to get it done. So thank you.
Okay, seeing no further comments or questions, this article will appear on the ballot as amended by the first amendment. Now, we skipped over the zoning article, which was number 2, which had to do with a petition zoning article by Ben Anderson. And we are not able to amend this article because it's a zoning article. However, we may discuss it. So, Mr. Anderson, would you like to speak to this, your petition warrant article? And other folks are welcome to speak, although we cannot amend it at this point.
Thank you. Ben Anderson, 66 Newfields Road. I've lived in Exeter for 10 years with my wife Sarah and our 2 kids, and we also operate Exeter's Word Barn, which is a gathering place for community events focused on the arts. We are here in support of Article number 2 that would result in a very limited and minor zoning amendment that would update the definition of a bed and breakfast. And while this is a minor change, it has the ability for massive positive impact by providing the path to restore our pre-existing rental unit and subsequently the largest and crucial funding source for the Word Barn's arts, events, and gatherings. More importantly, it would help others who live here in Exeter by helping to make our community a more affordable place to live. This minor change is very limited and still requires residents to live on the property they rent out, which we do. Owners will still have to provide food and a dining space, which we do. And it does not permit people to buy up housing stock and rent out entire places to short-term renters in any regard whatsoever. It also continues to hold the necessary regulation to ensure that a bed and breakfast is a best fit for its proposed location, and Exeter remains protected because owners who have to live on the property and otherwise comply with the bed and breakfast ordinance that is already in place. This also adds to our meals and rooms tax revenues, which we heard earlier is one of our town's key revenue sources that helps reduce the overall tax rate. This proposed change has been successfully reviewed by the Planning Board, where it received and enjoyed full and unanimous support and a full Planning Board recommendation. And truly, this type of update should be encouraged in times like these to allow people to use their property in a way that is benign and productive, making Exeter a more affordable place for people to live in like us. And we are here asking you for your support and the town meeting's support. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak to Article 2? Okay, I think we have a few other items of business. Town manager, is this something that you wish to address? Our dedication of our annual report.
I will defer to the chair of the board for that.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to announce that the 2021 Town of Exeter Annual Report will be co-dedicated to 2 of Exeter's long-serving public servants, Gwen English and Eileen Flockhart.
You may applaud.
May I have just a moment to...
You may.
Gwen English moved to Exeter in 1992 and has served on the planning board for many, many years, and as a result of serving on the planning board, has also served on the Rockingham Planning Commission and the Exeter Master Plan Steering Committee. Gwen has been instrumental in her work on the planning board, perhaps given her degree in earth sciences that she achieved at Dartmouth. She has been active in protecting the environment here in Exeter when reviewing development plans. When she's not volunteering for the town, you can find Gwen hiking many of our trails with her husband Henry, daughter Natalie, and their 6-year-old dog Millie. Now, Eileen moved to Exeter around 1981 with her 2 daughters. After marrying Doug and his 3 sons being added to the mix, they now enjoy 8 grandchildren. Eileen dedicated her professional career in public education. She's never stopped volunteering. Her volunteer services have gone through the decades. Since her retirement, she's been active in volunteering at St. Vincent de Paul. She's also been a very active advocate for our children in town, working with the Parks and Rec Department. And as recent as the 2020 presidential election, Eileen rallied a bunch of kids together to put together those I voted stickers that we all like to wear. Most recently, both Gwen and Eileen collaborated together on the Town of Exeter Tree Committee. Eileen serves as chair, and Gwen serves as secretary. Along with their other committee members, Eileen and Gwen worked vigorously towards the town earning its designation as a Tree City USA, and most recently submitted a tree ordinance that the Select Board approved at the end of 2021. We thank Gwen and Eileen for their long-standing volunteer work at the town. From a personal standpoint, I've had the privilege and the honor to work with both. And I can truly say to you that Gwen English and Eileen Flockhart are 2 of our town's treasures. Congratulations and thank you for your service.
Thank you to all the people who came out. I want to thank the crew here who helped us with our facilities. We had Mr. Lister setting everything up, lots of custodians, thank you very much. We had a great tech crew with Dean, Tim, Bob, and Daria, thank you very much. We had lots of volunteers outside all this time, thank you. We had many other folks who made this possible, our supervisors of the checklist, our wonderful board. Thank you, voters who came. Thank you, all the department heads and all the officials who provided information. And everybody come out and vote, please, on March 8th at Talbot Gym. I will entertain a motion to adjourn. All in favor? Aye. Woo, voice vote. Thank you. It's 12:35. Keep your cards. We don't want the cooties. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to Exeter TV. Exeter TV is the town's public and government access channels, available on Comcast channels 98 and 22. Channel 98 is your channel. If you have an idea for a program, want to host your own talk show, or submit a film, we're here to get your content on television. On Channel 22, we bring you live and replay coverage of government meetings and other town updates. A third channel, Blue Hawk Media, is operated by Seiu 16 and can be found on Channel 13, with all your school sports, events, and meetings. You can watch Exeter TV online at exeternh.tv, Apple TV, and on Roku. Find us on social media for extra content. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell to get notified about live streams and new content. Tune in to our platforms every other Friday to watch the Exeter Bi-Weekly Report, with recaps of recent events, updates from town departments, and messages from nonprofits in your area. If you head to our website, exeternh.tv, we invite you to sign up to our newsletter to receive monthly updates about new content, upcoming meetings, and more. We'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch Exeter TV and hope that you tune in to our other content as well.